Hey everyone, guess what? We do not have ugly swag. We have spaced out radio gear that you're going to want to wear. Why? Because no one wants to wear ugly clothing. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com and go shopping today. You'll be glad you did. And it's a great way to support our show. Once you get your gear, send us a picture of you rocking out in your SOR swag. spacedoutradio.com, shop there today, and make yourself look good.
Welcome to Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. It's going to be a fantastic show tonight. We have Tucson Mufon investigator Karen Hill joining us. We're going to talk about fantastic stuff. You may remember Karen has been on here once before talking the Atlantean crystals. So this should be an awesome show. Definitely, I want to make sure that you guys don't miss any of this as we go ahead and see who has the medal positions for tonight. Courtesy of Race Fan, it looks like it's going to be Race Fan with the gold tonight. We have Kitty Catty Whack coming in with the silver. And then we have Frankie B with the bronze. So we got Race Fan with the gold right here saying good evening, Rob. Good evening, Race Fan. Appreciate you coming in. We have Kitty Catty Whack saying, hi, Rob. Thanks again for filling in, Dave. We appreciate you, Rob. I always enjoy your content. Thank you, Kitty Catty Whack. And you know, I always fill in for Dave, man. Dave's my guy. And I'll be doing that again tomorrow. So make sure you guys tune in. We got Frankie B coming in saying good evening. Good evening, Frankie B. Thanks for coming in. Roger Murray, April 7, 2009. Joey Rudy and Chris Russo found guilty faking UFOs. Oh, Morristown, New Jersey. 16 years later, December 19, 2024. Residents report seeing drones over New Jersey. What a coinky dinky. Thanks for keeping us informed. Roger Murray right here at Spaced Out Radio, After Hours Radio Show. We do appreciate you, sir. We also have Road Flair in the building saying, hi, Rob. Hey, Road Flair. Thanks for coming in. Eternity Eternal. I see you there. Mel WD40 getting us lubed up and ready for the show. Good evening. Appreciate you coming on in as well. Who else do we have? Let's try to get to everyone before we start the show. Maybe we can. We got Light Walkers. Hey, y'all, great topic. Definitely. And we will be jumping into some stuff right here. Thanks for coming in as well. Lars Jansen, thanks for coming on in. Gizmo's in the building. Thanks for coming on in. Lavera Lucchini, I see you. As well as Thomas Rock. Good evening, Rob G. Good evening, Thomas Rock. Appreciate you showing on up. Tora Lulu, thank you for coming on in. Mike Bothwell, sub Rob G. Sub Mike Bothwell, thanks for coming in as well. We have Phineas Coat Hanger coming in from X in the building, saying, Mr. Rob G, appreciate you coming on in, Phineas. It is going to be an awesome show. Twiggy, hey, Twiggy, thanks for coming in tonight. Thanks for coming in to the After Hours Radio Show. We do appreciate showing on up. And actually, I think we got current, which is awesome. Glad to see that as we get ready to jump into this show. It's going to be a fantastic show. Karen Hill for hours 1 and 2. Drew Banky, that was a wrap up, along with Steve Stockton, Tells and Told Miss Person Mysteries. And I might play this little thing that I made up over on my channel, which is 5 times aliens may have attempted contact. Might be interesting. I might run that. We'll see as we get ready to start the podcast side of the show right about now. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. It's going to be an awesome show tonight. We have Karen Hill, Tucson Mufon investigator. She has stories to tell tonight, hours 1 and 2. Also, we got Drew Banky with the After Hours wrap up, along with Steve's Dr. Tells and Told Missing Person Mysteries. And then I might play something that I have that I created 5 times aliens may have attempted contact with human beings. That should be interesting. Also, UFO and weird news. We're jumping into the show right about now. Greetings, space travelers. Welcome home. You just tuned your dial to Spaced Out Radio, the only place where you can own the night. I am your host, Mr. Rob G, and tonight we're broadcasting on the terrestrial affiliates across North America, plus digitally on digital platforms all around the world. But don't forget, you can access our archives. They're absolutely free. YouTube.com/Spaced Out Radio, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with the SOR Newswire. You can get yourself some official Spaced Out swag. Plus, you can rock out to the man that you hear, the man that rocks out each and every weekend, Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and oh so much more. Guys, it's going to be a fantastic show. As I said before, we have Karen Hill, Tucson Mufon investigator, for hours 1 and 2. Then we have Drew Banky with the After Hours wrap up, hour number 3. Steve Stockton Tells and Told Missing Person Mysteries. I might sneak in 5 times aliens may have made contact or attempted contact with human beings, along with some UFO and weird news. Action-packed show, guys. Make sure that you don't go anywhere tonight. I promise you it's going to be a good one as we go ahead and get ready to jump right into the show and bring our guest in for the night, who is a Tucson Mufon investigator, Karen Hill. She joined us last year, if you remember, with the Atlantean Crystals, and she's back here tonight. Hi, Karen. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent.
Yeah. I love what you did with your background.
Thank you. It's been that long. That's right. You remember the old stuff. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. And we had an awesome conversation last time. We got into the Atlantean Crystals, which I'd never heard of until we did that show. Very, very interesting. If any of you guys missed that show, remember it's in the archive. Go to the After Hours playlist. Go back about a year, and you'll see Karen Hill and the wonderful conversation we had. So, what's been up since then, Karen? What's been up with you lately?
I guess lately, once a month, I just host a Tucson Mufon lecture, so that's fun. That keeps me, I guess, on the front of finding just more UFO content to promote. And then last weekend, I was in Sedona for the Rise of the Guardians UFO conference.
Awesome. And Dave Scott is out at UFO Con right now. Everybody's out at all these events, man. I got to get me some business. I got to get at least some tickets to some events. I haven't been to any zero zip zilch.
Man.
So maybe next time we get one, because you're sort of regional to me. I'm in Southern California. You're in the Southwest. So I guess let me know next time you go do something, and I'll see if I can book, arrange for travel or something like that. That would be awesome. I know you know all the players in the field, all the people we know, Jim Goodall, Melinda, Leslie. You hung out with all these people. What just to kind of reintroduce yourself to the people, though, what kind of led you down the path that you're on? How did you even decide to do Mufon? And did you have any experiences of your own leading up to this?
I feel like the path definitely started with Indiana Jones. And then I guess Ancient Aliens, like so many other people. And then like going to UFO conventions. Like I think the first one was UFO Congress in Phoenix. And then that was just like a huge, not even like a rabbit hole. That was like the landing platform for like everything. You just keep climbing that.
And so what was it that shocked you? Was it that just how did you find out that UFOs were real? Like, was it something you always thought? Was there a particular event or a story maybe that you saw that kind of brought it home? Like, man, this stuff is real.
I mean, I remember listening to the news at 10 o'clock on March 17th in 1997, hearing that a lot of people saw a craft, which is the Phoenix Lights, fly over. And I mean, I was 11 at that time and kind of like, damn, I wish I went outside. But then, like, it's still cold and I'm 11 and what am I doing outside? But I definitely wish I saw that. And like, every time, like, I go to Phoenix and I look up, like, I hope it happens again. But I mean, everyone has I feel like almost everyone has a UFO story, and I'm kind of jealous because I mean, I feel like I just have boring stories, but like but the majority of UFO stories I've heard from other people are also boring, but some are quite fascinating. And I'm like, damn, I wish that happened to me. So it's like I'm looking for that damn I wish it happened to me moment.
I'm actually glad you started out with that, Karen, because I've said this before, and I have other people that I know that have never had a sighting before. However, they're fully engaged with the topic.
Hmm.
They understand that it's real. And then for
Yeah.
you, growing up out there where the Phoenix Lights took place, obviously that energy was out there. A lot of people talking about it, news agencies coming into town. So I know it was like a big thing in
Hmm.
Arizona at that time. You probably couldn't help because, truthfully, I don't remember it. Like, I remember 1997, but
Hmm.
it was not. I wasn't doing anything to where that story would have came up on my
Oh,
radar.
really?
So
Hmm.
yes, and it's weird. It's weird, but I can say that I was also in a spot like you, where I was fully engaged with the UFO topic, but I hadn't had a sighting at all. Then one day, just by chance, I had this 47 UFO object sighting. So I know your day is coming, but I know that
Hmm.
feeling of just like, man, can I just see something? And there's a
Right.
lot of
Yeah.
people out there, and I don't think the community it recognizes that, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Like, I've seen 2, like, triangle crafts in the sky, but, like, because I don't know if it's extraterrestrial or government, like, I don't count that. Maybe I should, though.
You know, a triangle craft. I mean, and yeah, I mean, you can go either way with that because I did also a show talking about the governmental design language of like all these black projects they come out with, and they all seem to have that triangular, angular design. So chances, that could have likely been uh, government or a man-made craft. I think they
Mhm.
talk about the Aurora, which is an unreleased platform that's supposed to be a triangle. So maybe you saw that because I know some people have seen that supposedly in test flights out there in the desert. So
Mhm.
maybe that's what it was.
Could be.
So so MUFON. So you get into
Mhm.
MUFON, like who brings you into that? What makes you decide to make that step?
Probably when I moved to Phoenix, that's when I first went to Phoenix MUFON, and I went enough to, those meetings, and then, I had to move out of Phoenix and move back to Tucson. And I talked to the director and I'm like, I'm really sad that I have to move to Tucson because it'll be harder for me to make your meetings. And she was like, the director of uh, Tucson hasn't had a chapter in a few years. Why don't you do it? And I was just like, huh, like that seems so difficult. A challenge accepted. And
That's awesome. That's
I don't
awesome.
even know where to start, but I figured it out.
So MUFON is a mysterious organization for a lot of people who
Mhm.
have not got to see it from the inside. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
with you being on the inside, are you able like talk about what's the hierarchy like? Talk about where okay from start to finish how a UFO case gets handled so that the viewers out here know this is what happens when you submit your case.
So you submit your case and you obviously submit it in the state that you saw it in. And then there's a bunch of in your state, there's a bunch of field investigators who are certified with MUFON. To be an investigator, you have to take a test. There's like a giant book that's like that thick. and you got to read all the pages and then take this test. And if you get an 86 or higher, then you pass and you can start doing your own case. They give you cases, but so you report a UFO that you saw anomaly, and then it just gets assigned to one of the investigators within your state, and then depending on the severity of what happened, like if it was like if you came across like an entity, they have to call you within 24 hours, and then like the 3 days is the last. Like if you just saw something, like someone will get to you in 3 days, and then your investigator will email you and try to set up like a phone interview, and then they just get your story and then get some background information, and then we have a bunch of apps and websites to go to try to figure out what you saw. And then I don't know about most people, but I've heard that the majority of us don't contact the person afterwards and tell them what came about it. Because I guess most of them, like, they didn't see, like, what they saw was easily explainable as like a plane or a satellite or a rocket. And a lot of people don't like those answers. So if it's just, it came out as nothing, then we just put it in the database of what we believe it was, and then just wait for the next one.
Wow. Okay. And I can say this. I know I had an issue with my Mufon case back in the day, but I felt that way too. I felt like, okay, they didn't respond to me. They didn't reply to me and give me, but I did go and I looked through my spam and I found the reply. They did reply. So that's what I would recommend, guys, because when we were on our normal back and forth communication, when I started my investigation, the emails were coming to my normal inbox, and I was assuming that would continue. But for whatever reason, one of their final responses got directed to my spam. So I'm sitting here thinking that they're not replying to me, but the reply was actually in the spam folder. So make sure you guys do that. I don't know if that happens all the time, but had I not checked the spam folder, I would be sitting here today with this grudge of they didn't contact me back, right? And so that
I would say if you really want to know what the outcome was, then just contact your field investigator again and be like, what was it?
Yeah. What is, and just so you know, because Mufon has had some troubles in the past. I know I talked to you about this last time, with previous presidents that were within the company. But I want to make sure that people understand, like, what type of vetting process do you actually go through? So you get the information, like, before you come to that final conclusion as an investigator, have you checked it, double checked it, triple checked it? Like, what type of paces are you going through before you come to the conclusion of this is what it was or wasn't?
We look at the time of day, and then we ask for the time that it happened, and then like the direction of the sky you were looking at. And then if it was at night, then we look up a bunch of satellite radar, planetary maps, and then of course the plane apps. And if it was during the day, then we can cut out like the satellites and then just look at plane like the flight radar 24 and just other stuff like that. And then and other times if we're still not finding a lot of data, then we'll go look at other websites. Like there's a New Fork website where a lot of people will also post their UFO sightings on, and then I can compare and contrast. Like one of them, this guy said that he saw just like silver fireworks just in the sky, like at 2 p.m. in the middle of the day. And I was just like, okay. And like, I couldn't find anything, but then I went and looked for similar cases within Mufon, and then someone else like 10 miles away actually filmed it. And I was like, holy crap, like that's really cool. Like I can see what he was talking about now. And I thought it was something very strange, and I gave it to we have a photo analyst with Mufon, and I sent it to him, and he said it was birds. So I mean, he's our photo photo and analysis, so I have to agree with him.
Wow. Okay. And do you recall what his name is?
The photo analysis?
Yeah, is he a famous person like in this field?
I guess he's famous with an Arizona Mufon. His name is Dennis.
Okay, no, I was thinking someone
Okay.
else. Okay.
So
So
sometimes Mark Antonio looks at my
yeah,
stuff.
that's what I was gonna say, Mark D'Antonio, because that's my
Yeah.
guy, man. I still need to talk to Mark, but what I want to do with this is I want to make people more, by knowing the whole background and what goes into their reports. Some people feel like, just like you said earlier, well, I don't get a response, so maybe it's not worth my time to go ahead and submit a request or a encounter to Mufon. And I kind of want to have you kind of put people at ease and kind of, show them, say, are you going through the correct paces? Because some people, just like you said right there, if you hand it off to a photo analyst and he just says, oh, it's balloons, he could be having a bad day that day, right? And just has so many cases piled up that he's just like, okay, balloon, this, no, it's not, okay. And and I kind of want to just bring back or restore some trust in the system that Mufon has. And just because I spent some time last year kind of giving them a hard time with some things they did with my case. But that's why I'm asking. So when you come to a conclusion, is it just a rush to judgment sort of thing? I mean, that maybe it's not the right way to say it. Are you getting your answer and then saying, okay, let me do some due diligence and make sure that this is the right answer before actually giving the answer to the person who submits the claim?
With me, yeah, there's a lot of like compare and contrasting. I would say maybe like a third of my cases is I have to rule it out as insufficient data. Like I haven't found anything to prove or disprove that what they saw. And like I had a case where some girl saw a blue, like she was meditating and a blue ET was in her mind talking to her. And I'm like, how am I going to prove or disprove that that happened? Like, I can't. That's weird.
Okay, so what happens with that type of information? Is it still like part of the file, or like at the end of the day, the information they gave you about that ET, does that stay in the file?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of typing, like digital paperwork, and I have to, like, when I interview someone, then I have to just fill a whole report on what I asked and what they said, and then give like a summary and then conclusion.
Okay. Now, within MUFON, do you feel like uh are there other things that you wish that you could do as a MUFON agent in order to maybe tools that you could use to investigate further into some of these incidents? Like, is there
Crystal
anything that you
balls.
like, man, I wish we had that?
I mean, I wish I had a crystal ball to go back in time just to see what they were looking at.
Yeah, that would probably solve a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get that.
I mean, I wish that like the rocket launches that happen, like I wish there was more of like a timeline and an announcement of when that's happening, because like so many people still don't know of Starlink, which just baffles me. And like every time a rocket goes up, there's more MUFON reports that are created, and like some of the rockets that are launched from Florida, like in an hour and a half, we'll see them in Arizona, and a lot of people will report those. And those would look way different from the ones that launch in Vandenberg, California.
Do you think maybe they do that on purpose in order to kind of conflate the issue? They're putting up weird stuff without telling you, so someone can report it just for it to be debunked while they're not paying attention to the real thing that's up there. Do you think they kind of maybe do that to kind of conflate things?
No, I just think it's all chaos, just everything happening all at once. And I mean, I would have to go into someone else's, like the bubble of SpaceX, just to learn what they're doing, because like it's not in front of me. Like I have to go find that information.
Do you have an example of a time where something may have been reported and then it turned out to be obviously not that once it was looked into?
Yeah, like there was a guy who had a Ring camera, and he said that there were two lights that were falling, like a falling leaf pattern. And then I watched this, and I knew he told me, and I also looked his house on Google, but he told me like the direction that like his Ring camera was facing, like the sky. And I watched it, and I immediately knew that it was the moon and Jupiter, because I have been following that myself, just watching Jupiter just setting throughout the night. And like this was years ago, but at that time, like I knew it was the moon and Jupiter. And then I used like uh the planetary apps just to like line it up of the times. And that's what I submitted with my case, was this is obviously the moon and Jupiter. And the picture of the app and then his pictures, they lined up for like 5 frames.
Okay. So, all right. So, okay. Yeah. And like you said, I know there's a lot of people that don't really like the answers to some of that stuff. So, what would you, for a person that is getting ready to gather their data to submit it to MUFON, like what
Mhm.
steps would you recommend that they go through just so they're submitting the most highest quality account,
Mm.
and some of the things that you guys may be looking for in the submission?
Pictures are nice. I mean, videos are cool too. I mean, pictures tell like 1,000 words, but a video will tell a lot more, but then also be confusing. So like if there's something just like in the sky, like film that, but then also like zoom out so like you can see the mountain ranges or any other lights in the sky, and then just like keep filming on that and just film like what it does, maybe for at least 30 seconds. And then if you take a picture of it, please take more pictures so we can see like the surrounding uh, landscapes, just so we can identify like more about where this is.
Yeah. And I had actually, that's all I always tell people. Someone asked me, did I have my UFO sighting first, or before I got into ufology? And I told him no. Actually, I got into ufology first and then had my sighting, so I was able to learn exactly what you just said. And I'm glad you were able to tell
Mhm.
people, because it puts them in, when they're in that moment. Now they know, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to zoom out. I need to zoom back in. I need to get
Yeah.
other pictures of things in the area. And so I kind of knew that in my sighting, which is why if you ever watch my video, you'll see I zoom out for context, I zoom back in, and I do a few of those things. So, guys, that's actually valuable information that she just gave. When you do have a sighting, try to just keep that in your mind, that you need to try to cover those things as you are getting your, taking down your data.
Mhm.
Also, let me ask you this, because this is another thing I don't think really matters, but maybe you have some context on that. Is it better for a person to, once they have the sighting, immediately reach out to MUFON, or does it matter if they sit and over, let 2, 3, 4, 5 months pass before they submit their sighting? When is too late? Is there a too late?
There's kind of not a too late, because someone posted something and I had to take his case, and it was like a sighting that he had 20 years ago. But it was really cool because like I really had to dig through like other UFO report websites to find anything about this. But I learned something. So like I used a website called Newfork, and he saw this person in Tucson. He just saw a black triangle in the sky, and it was just a black triangle, and it would slowly go over, and it would um like it would cover the stars. So like there was just a perfect black patch that was just moving toward Fort Huachuca, and he was just like just watching it for a half hour. But this was around September 11th, 2001. And so I'm looking at New Fork, and I was able to like narrow down a search. Like I was looking for UFO sightings in Arizona, and then I was looking for black triangles. And I looked from like August of 21 to November of
Let's
2001. And
stop
it
right
was so
there, Karen. Hold the
what?
story right there. Hold the story right there. We're about to go to break real quick as
Okay.
we get ready to come back from break and talk to Karen Hill, Tucson MUFON investigator. She was right in the middle of a great story. Make sure you don't go anywhere so you can come back and catch the finish to the story. Karen Hill, Tucson MUFON for hours 1 and 2. We'll be right back right here in the Spaced Out Radio After Hours Radio Show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. See you soon. All right, we are clear. And yeah, we'll pick that story back up after this break. And
okay.
let me welcome some more people that I didn't get to say hi to before the show. We got Tranquility Jules. This is great. Thank you so much, Karen. Appreciate you showing on up here tonight. Egyptian Princess just ate a whole box of cookies, German biscuits with chocolate milk. I don't eat American cookies anymore. Just ate 9. Need some milk. Wow, you just made my mouth dry right now with that Egyptian Princess. Thank you so much for coming on in. Also, Carol Amerio, thanks for showing up here tonight. We have Zanos, thanks for coming on in as well. Guy Merritt, I will. Okay. Guy Merritt, did this gal see a black triangle? I don't know. Were you talking about Karen, or are you talking about the person Karen was telling the story about?
Both.
Okay. If you want to answer that while we're on break, you can go ahead and answer that.
Okay, yeah, I saw a black triangle in Tucson walking my dog on October 2nd of 23, I think. But it was really interesting because like I heard jets like all throughout the evening, and we have a really huge Air Force base, but we only hear the jets during the day, not at night. And so it's kind of like, what night training are they doing? But then like I saw a black triangle flying over, and I heard the jets around, and I'm like, are the jets like escorting it to the base, or are they chasing it away? I don't know. But then like 4 days later, someone recorded the same triangle I saw over an EG's, which is a local like fast food place. And then like a week or so later, that EG's, like they're famous for like ices. They had a galactic grape flavor and gave out UFO shaped stickers. So that was pretty cool. And that, I don't know, that told me that the thing was still in the area.
That is awesome. That was the one thing that scares me. And Guy Merritt went to finish to say, yeah, I saw a huge one back March 18, 1994, barely above a freeway.
Cool.
And every time I go outside at night, I go out to throw out the trash. I go out to do anything. The moment I step under the sky, I immediately look up to my left. I look up to my right. I look straight up. I turn around and I look and I scan the entire sky, because I hear so many stories of people coming outside at night and then seeing something up there floating. And I'm like, dude, last night, and I'll say this, last night we were we had a huge movie screen set up in the backyard. We had these, outside cots and chairs, and everybody's outside under the stars watching The Lion King or Mufasa, whatever that was. And I'm just sitting there looking up. I just lay back and I'm just looking up at every single star. And I'm like, is this the moment can I try to summon something right now? It was just crazy. It was, and nothing happened though. But I always go out there hoping to look up and see one of those big triangles just sitting up there in the sky.
That'd be awesome.
One day, hopefully one day. We got about 1:36 seconds left here. So hopefully you remember where you were in that story, Karen.
Oh yeah, okay.
Cool. All right, let me finish welcoming a few other people here. And Drew Banky says, and do the hokey pokey and turn the UFO around. Okay, I got you. We got Fast Timmy out there as well. Fast Timmy, Holly M. I didn't say hi to. Hi, Holly M. Woo Riders DG. Let's see. Woo Riders DG. Who else? Applesauce. I know I didn't say applesauce for sure. Applesauce. Thanks for coming on in here tonight. Who else? Angels Are Live Nikki. Long time. Says good listen, but personally, I'm not ever sending my info to Mufon. And I understand some people had different experiences. Like I said, we can go back to mine. Mine wasn't great. I feel like they could have done it a lot better. But when I talked to slipping my mind, the 2 Mufon directors I talked to last year, but they were just letting me know that this stuff is regional, right? So it's the whole of Mufon, shouldn't be affected by this one person in one little area.
I first made them my Facebook page for the Tucson, and like I got complaints from like people in Indiana, and I'm like, I have no idea about what you're talking about, but I'm sorry.
Yeah, definitely regional, especially when it comes to the issues, because they had told me plain and simple. They were like, yeah, at that time you reported, the people in southern southwestern part or Southern California weren't doing their job, and that's why I'm like, oh, okay, that's enlightening. But it explained why. It made me see that there's a bigger picture here. There's different regions. It doesn't speak for the entirety of MUFON.
Yeah.
As we got about 5 seconds here coming back from break, let's get ready to get back into the show. Let's go. All right, everybody, welcome back. Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours Radio Show. We are back with Karen Hill, Tucson MUFON investigator. She is just in the middle of the story. She's going to get right back into it. I promise. If you missed the beginning of the story, then you can do what we always say to do. Hop in the archives because they're absolutely free. YouTube.com/at Spaced Out Radio. Getting right back into the show. Karen Hill, go ahead and get us right back into that story.
Okay, so I was researching black or triangles in Arizona around the time that he saw his, which was I think October of 2001. But anyway, so I was looking at between August and November of 2001, and it was like the only black triangles that were seen in the United States were in Arizona from that month. And the only craft that people were seeing in Arizona was a black triangle. And I was just like, holy crap, like this is a huge like connection. Like, what is up with the black triangle at this moment in time? And then I'm wondering, like, does this have anything to do with 9/11? I don't know. I could trail off in a lot of different directions.
So, okay. And so, I'd ask you also before the break, because, people out there don't get to talk to people from MUFON a lot, or you don't get I can't find a video where I get to get all the details on MUFON. So that's the value that you'll be playing here today. That's what I mean. So that's why it's good that we're able to get you to answer some of these questions, because these are simple questions that people want the answers to. So you don't have to have you don't have to submit your sighting within a specific time frame. As Karen said earlier, there was someone who submitted one that was 20 years ago, and they're just now submitting it. So whenever your sighting was, regardless, consider going to, at least put it on record, because like we always say, that little bit of data that you add to the puzzle might be what kind of puts it over the top or tips the scale. So don't feel like your data is outdated, and consider submitting it somewhere. It could be MUFON, it could be Newfort, it could be any of the avenues that you choose to do, but just make sure that before you leave this planet that you have added your data to the overall board here. So with that being said, as a MUFON investigator, what would be, if you had to look at maybe one of the craziest, wildest, unbelievable submissions that you've had personally, or maybe even someone within your circle, someone else that told you about a crazy submission? Do you have any of those?
I have like a recent one, like this, I guess, kind of entity, like I've never heard anyone else talk about. But there was a kid who said that he was sitting in his father's car, and he was really emotionally upset about something that happened earlier. And then there was this red static being that just like appeared in the car next to him. And he just like looked at it, and he said like it didn't have any like no mark, like it was just like a silhouette of a red static figure. And then it kind of had like dark-ish circles for eyes, but he was just paralyzed and he couldn't move. And then he woke up. He doesn't know how long he was out for, but he woke, like the car wasn't moving, the car was just in his driveway. But he woke up maybe a half hour later under a tree in his yard, and he was all scraped up.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So if anyone knows what a red static being could be, I want to hear about it.
Yeah, I mean, I know the only red static thing I heard about, I know they had over in Vandenberg, that huge floating red square.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they said it was. It was like, I guess, the size of a football field, kind of hovering over the Air Force Base. So maybe it's related. I don't know. But so with the scratches, right? So that ends up being some sort of physical evidence. So how do you take that? What are the steps that you would do? Because it's no longer just the story. It's like, okay, this is the story of what I saw.
Yeah.
Now here are physical marks. How do you guys
Mhm.
handle that?
Well, him and I both think that the marks came from him somehow exiting the car and then crawling over like a 3-foot wall that was in his yard, and then like there was like 10 feet until the tree. So he probably somehow crawled over this wall and then just sat. He was sitting like leaning against this tree, and like he had just scraped knees and like the palms of his, he was scraped there. And then he just kind of woke up and the car was gone, and he was just like, what happened? But then inside the house, he had some sisters there, and it was kind of like no one knew where he was, but the sisters said that there was like a shadow person in their hallway.
Mm. With physical evidence or just the story?
No, they just saw a shadow person, and he came in and he kind of told them what happened, and they were like, "Oh, we did see this weird shadow person in the house." And then they all of them just were kind of staring at each other like, "What happened?"
And so, and I want to make this point too, right? Because as you pointed out, that which is very important, that some of these stories or submissions that come to you only have stories to them, right? When you say
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
cool if there's data that's also
Mhm.
provided with that. So if someone in a moment, catches something on film, but they are like, I don't know, it's should they still submit that sort of information too? So even if it doesn't look
Yeah.
like the apparition, but it's something, is that
Yeah.
something? Okay.
Yeah, and then, like, with this thing, like, I mean, we don't even know if it's a extraterrestrial, like, it could be something paranormal that happened, but, I mean, you don't know, so, there's no harm in reporting it anyway.
Yeah, and submitting the information. I'm just want to make sure that people understand that, because there's always that reluctance, though. There's always the reluctance that says, "Oh man, is this important enough, or does this really matter? And should I actually do that?" And I just
Yeah.
always want to drive home the point that yes, you should do it. Like that's definitely something you should do.
Mhm.
Um,
Like, the black triangle I saw, I never reported it, and I'm kinda kicking myself because like, the Flight Radar 21 app, like, you can only see planes that happened, like, up to a year back, and it's over a year, so the year has passed, so, like, that would be even more difficult to prove the triangle I saw, and, like, maybe one day I'll report that one, but I don't know, I'm kicking myself that I didn't do it earlier.
Within that time frame, it's another great
Yeah.
point, because some of the, and I'll say with my sighting, that's I learned a valuable lesson that time too, because there if I had done it early enough, if I just went ahead and submitted it, then Mufon would have had the opportunity to FOIA the flight radar and the air traffic records from the FAA. But because the window is so small, they only give you like 60 days before you can actually ask for that information before they purge it. It's like, why would you purge information after
Right,
60
yeah.
days when but you know why they're doing that? Because they don't want to show radar data that shows this anomalous activity. That's why they do it. But it's just important for, if you want as much the ability to reach for more resources to verify or validate your story, the sooner you should probably submit that information.
Right, yeah, and, so I submitted a different, UFO case to, a MUFON investigator in Colorado, and, uh, I was not, I didn't agree with what his conclusion was, but, like, it did happen in September, so, like, before September's over, like, I'm gonna contact him again and try to make him change it because, he thought it was a plane, and I asked him, like, "What plane do you think I saw?" And then he gave me the plane, and I looked at when that plane was in the air, and, like, I had my sighting at 9 PM, and the plane that he said it was up at 1 p.m. and down at 3 p.m. And I'm like, no, this is not the plane. And he was like, oh, sorry, I have a lot of cases that I'm juggling. And so I'm like, all right, find this plane. And then the next plane that he said it was took off at 9 in the morning. And I'm just like, bro, it's not okay.
Is there like a like an appeal process? I guess I'll say so.
Right?
Is there something? So if you give a person who submits a case an answer, you come to this conclusion, and so that's what it is, and you close the case that way. Or is that person able to appeal that and say,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think that's something different?
every state is different, but I know in Arizona we have our chief investigator who is the final, like, I guess, jury for what a case is solved as. But I mean, we can open a case back up anytime and just change it, and then she'll okay it or not.
Okay. And what are some of the like with the reason you do this for Mufon? Because it's not paid, right? It's all
No,
volunteer, right? Okay.
yeah.
So in order for you to feel like, okay, I want to invest my time into this and do this, what are some of the key reasons why? That way maybe somebody else out there who wants to do it, can kind of get something from you on that.
I guess if you're one of those people who's really interested in solving puzzles, and like a lot of people out there are watching crime mysteries, and it's like you could do it for real. Like I had a friend who I worked with, and she was all about like science and research. I'm like, you could totally be a MUFON field investigator. And she said maybe when she's older, when she feels like bird watching. But then I realized like, oh, she thought I was asking like, you go watch for UFOs and then upload them. But I'm like, no, you research other people's cases.
Does MUFON need extra investigators right now?
I mean, it depends on the state. Like, I think in Arizona, I think we have 20.
Wow, that's not a lot, right? Or is that
I
too
think
much?
it's actually more than a few other states. But I mean, we could always use more.
Yeah, I thought about doing it. I have a friend that is a MUFON investigator, Rob Martin from Wide a Bit
Mhm,
Secret. He does it in Texas. And I considered it. I'm like, but if it's needed, I don't want to kind of just do it and everybody else is doing it. But if it's needed, I would take that on for
mhm,
my area. And I don't know, but I'm in Southern California, so I'm sure it's probably a lot of people out here. But look at, I guess, for someone out there who may want to do more, than they're currently doing, hey, just inquire for your area and see if it's something
mhm.
that's available for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So okay, so as far as MUFON goes, what is the most common, if you were to look at the submissions over time, what is the most common type of craft that gets reported?
I think like the sphere or the orb. 'Cause
The
I think
sphere of the orb?
orbs are mostly reported, and they're seeing them at night.
Okay, so most cases are sphere or orbs, and most cases are being reported at night. So how rare is it for someone to have a daytime sighting?
Um, I don't think rare at all. Like I have a friend who's like, I don't bother looking at night. Like I see the most craft during the day, and she's out like rock hunting in mountains.
Okay, so does it make it easier for sightings to happen during the day as far as investigating?
Uh, for investigating, I mean, for me investigating a day sighting, then I don't have to look at planets or satellite radar.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's fun for me. Like, okay, now we can just narrow it down to a plane, or I don't know.
Man, I wish I could have submitted mines to you, man. That's the thing. It's you want to make sure that the person that takes on your case is going to be someone that kind of looks under every rock, leaves no stone unturned, kind of uses
Mhm,
all the resources that they have available at their
mhm.
fingertips. What sort of tools do you get to use as a MUFON investigator? So like MUFON provided tools, I guess.
I mean, they'll just give us a list of satellite, plane, and star maps and apps. But like, I did do the field investigator training in Phoenix, and that was a hands-on course. And for that, we had EMF detectors and Geiger counters, and I guess bags for collecting evidence.
Okay.
Mhm.
EMF detectors. So I would understand Geiger counters, right? Because usually at a UFO site, there's often talk about radiation levels there. So I understand a Geiger counter. Where does the EMF come into play? What do they have you use the EMF for?
Probably just electromagnetic interference.
Ah,
Like if like they were using that on the Beyond Skinwalker Ranch episodes where they're like there was a bridge in near Trinidad, and like every time they went over this bridge, like their EMF reader was just going crazy.
do you guys delve into anything outside of UFOs, like any Bigfoot reports, crypto reports, or specifically UFOs?
It's specifically UFOs, but if other things are happening all at once, like we would take that in account. So like if you saw a UFO and then you saw a Bigfoot right there, like we would have to deal with both of them. But like if you just saw a Bigfoot, like they're not I would say like they're not inclined to do anything about it. Like they're strictly UFOs, but they have to acknowledge that other stuff paranormal happens.
Okay. Are there any plans? And I know occasionally MUFON will have these meetups for their representatives. Is there anything coming down the pipeline, like anything that you know of that might change the game a little bit as far as UFO research or investigation goes?
For like
Like, yeah,
for
just anything they may have mentioned or that's coming down the pipeline as a tool for MUFON to use to help further investigate the phenomena.
not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay. Do they take suggestions from their representatives as far as things that you might think or might be more helpful in your time researching or investigating?
I'm sure they would. You would have to, if you're a field investigator, probably just email the headquarters.
Okay. Just make sure there's headroom for evolution and that
Mhm.
there is an end goal, right? Because you can collect
Yeah.
data all day, but it's like, okay, what are we now doing once we have all the data? Is there like a game plan for after that, a stage two, a next stage? Just trying to figure that out. But then I'm sure they don't tell everybody everything, right? But this is
Mhm.
a moment where I kind of get to poke and prod and kind of ask those questions. So, okay, getting to the actual topic of the show. I mean, it's definitely MUFON, but what are some of the things that you've done, maybe inside MUFON or outside MUFON, that your training just couldn't prepare you for? Like MUFON, even everything I went through in training and could not have prepared me for this or something that I did over here, or like anything that you have there, anything that would fit that.
Well, I guess the last few months I've been kind of like knee deep into like a paranormal location in Utah, and I really want to explore that. But so I was emailed a story, and this story was probably like 50 years old. And then the person who emailed it to me, he emailed it to me like 2 years ago, and he's dead now, so I can't really ask more about it. But it was an essay. It was just forever long. But I guess this paranormal location in Utah, eh, it's just an open field, and sometimes like people are always hearing voices and hearing things, and no one can kind of pinpoint to where the sound is coming from. And sometimes there's just an invisible barrier, and you'll just be running in the field and you'll just run into nothing, and but you feel it, and you're just like you can feel like the outside of a building, and you can't see it but you feel it, and so that's mysterious. And sometimes like there's just like a weird energy pull, and you'll just be walking and you'll sit down and then you cannot stand back up until like it passes.
So this sounds then maybe like paranormal. So when you take off your MUFON cap, now you're
Yeah,
putting paranormal cap as a
it's like
so
a paranormal but still research cap.
yes,
It's
yes,
not
yes.
different. Yeah.
So, and then obviously that, yeah, I guess that fits that. Mufon couldn't prepare you for that because they don't give you paranormal training, right?
Uh, no, but I feel like UFOs are kind of paranormal, and like, I mean, if you're encountering like an ET, you're definitely gonna be like, oh, this is weird. This is not normal.
That, yeah, there you go. Okay, and I'm glad you said that because Lou Elizondo actually also said something similar to that recently, and it kind of made me think of things differently. It's like everything that isn't normal is technically paranormal.
Hmm.
I was like, wow, you know what? That is true. Everything that isn't normal would be considered paranormal. So, in fact, anything that we are questioning or trying to figure out within this, even though we call it the UFO, it could also be considered paranormal.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Interesting. So with this 50-year-old story, right? So you said there was a field and something in this field would be almost like a barrier or
Yeah.
something that people would run into. Yeah, you talked about, or at least you told me about saying that a Greek building would appear.
Hmm.
Okay, is that what this barrier actually is then? Does a building
Yeah.
appear in that place?
And like it actually like appeared for like this one person who was involved in the story, and it was at 2 in the morning. Like there was like a I guess the main guy of the story, he was a private investigator in a law firm in Ogden, Utah, and there would be like this young man who looked kind of Middle Eastern. He would just kind of appear in his office and just talk to him about almost like nonsense. It kind of sounded like from the story. And then one day he was like, "I need you to visit me at 2 in the morning on Sunday out in an empty field or a cow pasture, probably like 20 minutes outside of Ogden." And this person was like, "No, like it's 2 in the morning, like no." But the little dude was like, "Oh, you're gonna be there," and he went. He was actually there, and like he got there early, and he was like he was in like at least three different wars, and so like he came prepared. Like he had a gun, and he was scouting the area before 2 in the morning to see if there was anything like a trap waiting for him. And then he just got in the car and just waited until 2, and then this guy just appeared out of nowhere and was like, "Hey, let's go. I want to show you something." And what was weird is like, so Bill and like this little dude, and they're walking in the field, and then all of a sudden, like this building is there, and he's like, "That building was not there when I was out here earlier." And he looked back at his car, and he saw himself sitting in his car, and he's just like, "What is happening?" And like he just continues to go inside the building, and then like the little guy was telling him that was like a school kind of, and there was like a really big pendulum in a room, and it was just going, and he was told that it doesn't measure time but kind of like events. And there was just a lot of fun stuff in this room. And then like when he almost like didn't leave the room, but he woke up in his car 3 hours later, and he didn't know, like the building was gone, the person was gone, and he was just in his car, and he didn't know what time it was because his watch still said 2 in the morning. And he turned on the radio and started driving home, and then the radio said it's 5 in the morning, blah blah blah.
So you met this guy? The guy?
No, I because this happened in the late 70s, and this
Oh,
Bill
okay.
guy he died in 2003. It took a while for me to find out who he was.
And I know that there is more to that story from we talked behind the scenes sort of on this. So there's definitely some other parts of this. So what I want to make sure, because we're actually only have about 30 seconds left before we go to our top of the hour break,
Mhm.
we will come back to that story and get some more details on the back half of the hour. I just want to make sure that everybody out there that you don't go anywhere as we prepare to go into this break, because it's been awesome so far. We got a Tucson Mufon investigator who is here to actually answer your questions, and we will get to those in hour 2 in the back half. I've seen a few questions already. Make sure when we come back from break that you're putting them in caps, and we can go ahead and make sure that Karen gets those and posts those questions. Plus, we'll go into a few other experiences that she's had. It is going to be an awesome show, guys. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break.
conversations that move the needle.
Conversations that move the
You're
needle.
listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio.
You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
All right. See you in 5 minutes, Karen.
Cool. Okay.
All right. All right, welcome back, Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours Radio Show. We are back with our guest, Karen Hill, as we have about 30 seconds left before we come back from radio break, guys. This is the hour to ask questions. Definitely is. So make sure those questions are in caps, and we will pose those to our guest tonight. So we got about 15 seconds left. Egyptian Princess, thanks for coming in. Susan Place, thanks for showing up. Anyone else? Hillbilly Herb, thanks for coming in. And here we go. Let's get ready to come back right now. All right, everybody, welcome back. Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours Radio Show. After hour number 2 here with our guest, Tucson Mufon investigator Karen Hill. Getting into some really awesome stuff, really awesome stories here as we get ready to jump right back on into the conversation. Make sure that if you missed any of it, jump in the archive, absolutely free, youtube.com/@spaced-out-radio. As we get right back into what we were talking about before here, what you were telling the story, a 50-year-old story. So the guy, Bill, you said this all happened back in the 70s. Is that right?
Yeah, late 70s.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he is no longer with us. And you were going into more details of the story. So the school, it was a building that you said it was more like a school.
It was, yeah.
What were the details of that? And then what was I guess, the thought process on what the experience meant, or did they add anything to that experience? At the end of that story?
So, I guess within the email, there's only like 3 humans mentioned. There was Bill, and then there was a psychiatrist who later went with Bill to meet the little dude out in the field another night, and the building wasn't there this time. And I'm wondering if, like, I also want to know what that building is. Like, was it once there, like 1,000 or so years ago? Or is it here in the future? Who knows? But like, there was an underlying message that he learned in that building, which was something like humans aren't just on Earth, and not all the humans that are on Earth were born here, and then not all humans that are born here stay here. It was like an interesting message, but like, I mean, this was the late 70s when that was said, and now, like, doing like UFO conferences, like that's kind of like the repeated message now. So it's like that was really ahead of its time 50 years ago.
Yeah, and I lean into agreeing with the statement. You said what you stated, that not all humans are from here.
Mm-hmm.
Say that phrase again.
It was like, not everyone on this planet is from here.
Yeah. I think that might be true in some aspects. When I look around, it's just like, I don't know. What makes you feel that way?
So there's this remote viewer guy in Sedona. I know his name is Tom Dongo. He's really old, but he has a few stories about how, like, he's just out at the grocery store, like minding his own business or somewhere, and like he sees someone and he's just like, double take. He's like, that's not a human. Like, that's a humanoid looking human, but that's not a human. And he'll go up and talk to them and be like, hi, who are you? Like, why are you here? And he says, like, there's this insane energy about him. And he says, like, he met like a really pale white couple in a grocery store in Cottonwood. And he was just like, you guys are not from here. Like, what are you doing? And he said, like, the guy was just kind of like, go away, little human. But he was like, we're from Prescott. And he was like, you're not from Prescott. Like, I know what Prescott people look like. You're like, he said, like, their necks were like longer, and like their hairline was just different, and they're way skinny, too skinny.
Interesting.
And then there's Jerry Wills, who I guess was found in an abandoned barn in Kentucky with a bunch of other babies, and they're here. He's 6'9", blonde and blue-eyed right now.
Jeez,
and he has the fun gift of healing people.
Okay, so you opened up a can of worms with this here, because there is that aspect of in that portion of people within the community that feel like there are alien beings walking among us. And I always ask that. I'm like, okay, is it more likely that you have aliens that look like humans walking among us, or are they wearing some sort of skin suit, or are they just have they morphed into like a human sort of figure, but they really don't always look like that? And I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence on which one of those makes more sense. But when you say stuff like they were really pale white, or and they had
Hmm.
hairlines and long necks, that stuff is kind of weird, and that kind of stuff does kind of make you go, pause back.
Hmm.
When you say that, I think of people who I've looked at and like, I don't know, that person
Yeah.
could be something else as well. I don't know. That makes sense. But how do you look at, the possibility of things like that being walking amongst us?
I've been told that the majority of life out there in the universe looks just like us. So like they can just come down and blend in and we wouldn't notice anything unless they telepathically said something to us.
Wouldn't that be wild?
Yeah.
Would that be very wild if, yeah, dude, Karen, you're on something here, man. Because and I've never really thought about that. But when you look at uh some movies that we've made, we go to other planets in those movies, and there it is like a level of human characteristics to where, yeah, you probably could blend in on that planet of these weird human sort of, and that makes a lot of sense. Like, dude, what if that was the case? What if a lot of them out there look like we look? And yeah, that if that was the case, that means they could be here at any moment and you would never ever know.
You're right. Yeah.
Oh my
But
god.
Tom says that like if you think you see one, think really hard at them and try to talk to them and like see if they turn around and like they sense it or hear it.
You're scaring me right there, man. Scaring me, because now I'm gonna do that. Now I'm gonna, next
Mm,
time I'm in the store, I'm
I do it
going
at
to do
UFO
that.
conferences because like I've been told that a lot of ETs love to visit their own conferences.
Oh my gosh, dude, that is wild.
Hmm.
And what's gonna be even more wild is if you get that person that turns and looks at you when you do it. Has that happened to you, or
No, not yet. I think I
oh,
would. I haven't thought about what would happen next.
because even with that, I always talk about like just the human senses and capability. Like, I feel like, just truthfully, as a human, you probably could do that. Like, if someone, and I think it's almost proven, right? Because I know we do have some of those capabilities. So maybe that won't be the telltale then, because I've walked into a room, or I've had someone walk into a room, didn't make any sound at all, but you could detect that the person
Hmm.
was there, or they were
Right. Yeah.
looking at you, and you could detect that someone is really staring at me right now, and you look, and there's that person right there. So I don't know. I don't know if that would be end up being the telltale. I think we have to find some other ways, like maybe ask. I don't know. I don't know. Like, hey, do you want some Jiffy? Like, do you want some Jiffy on your bread, or do just something that only humans from here could know? Maybe come up with some little coded sort of thing that we could use that kind of doesn't let them pass that test. Kind of
They're
twist
probably
them up.
too smart for that.
Like, how about a Rubik's cube? You ever play with the Rubik's cube? And like, Rubik's cube, like, got one. Yeah, I don't know. I got to think it through. But I think that human beings could kind of detect them and pick up those senses. So maybe that won't be the answer, but it just gives a whole nother perspective on the things that could be walking around here. I think that is kind of actually makes a lot of sense, and it would, at the very least, I think, make you look twice. Because I see some
Hmm.
people on the corner screaming and yelling at the sky and sitting there talking to themselves. And there was a time before UFOs where I would look at a person like that, man, like, man, that person's crazy. That person doesn't have it all. But then once I got into UFOs and stuff, I started thinking about, man, maybe that person is actually talking to someone in that moment. Like, maybe they're actually doing something, that humans can't do. And so that's definitely some of the things that I've thought about.
Hmm.
How about yourself?
Well, like I started wondering about like the people who hear things because it's like, what if something's actually talking to them? And like the psych words, like I think instead of all medicine and uh I don't know, doctor level of thinking. Like, let's bring in like paranormal doctors and like just start asking new questions because maybe there is an entity like attached to them or talking to them, and like medicine's not going to cure it, but maybe like a witch doctor would.
Very interesting, also, and another great perspective too. I mean, because that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because they could be dealing with something, and yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Karen. Let me go back to the person Bill in the story that you were telling, because
Mhm.
you told me previously that this person actually had some sort of interesting connection.
Yeah. So, this story, like, I actually put on my YouTube channels because, like, if I put an essay online, I know no one's gonna read it. So, like, and I want the story to get out there. So, like, I found like a voice actor, and I had them read this story, and then I filled in like the 21 minutes of audio with AI pictures just so you could see something and not fall asleep. Uh, the voice actor's that great. Um, and so it's on my YouTube channel. It's Capt Crot is my name, or you could just type in mysterious cow pasture. I think that would let you find it. But so there's only three humans in this story, and then at the end of the video that I posted, I'm like, someone has to know who these people are. Like, help me find out all the answers of the story because I really want to know all the things. But it was actually Jerry Wills. I sent it to him, and he said, I know of the guy who went to that cow pasture and who was like poking around at it. And so like he said, but he died. But his ex-wife is still alive. You should go find her. And so like I found her on Facebook, and I contacted her, and I actually drove up to Phoenix to interview her about all the things that her late husband was doing up in Utah. And then she knew Bill's last name, which was huge for me. And she said she knew a few things about him, like he was a teacher at some point, and then he was this private investigator, and he had a paranormal radio show in Salt Lake City, which was neat. And then so his last name was Gossett. And then when I was Googling Bill Gossett, Utah, the first thing that came up was like number one suspect of being DB Cooper. And I was like, LOL, no, let me refine my search. And so I put like Bill Gossett, Ogden, Utah, and then paranormal radio show. And then all the DB Cooper stuff popped up again. And I saw this article saying like Bill Gossett was William Gossett, and then he changed his name to Wolfgang Gossett. And then there's like pictures of like the DB Cooper sketch, and then William or Bill up, and then like it had all this information about him, and then like the last two sentences was he had a paranormal radio show in Salt Lake City. And I was like, holy crap, I found my person. And maybe I found DB Cooper also.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
crazy. That's mind blowing because I know I've been watching and just random too, right? I mean, you're
Yeah,
looking for
it's like DB Cooper just crashed into my mysterious cow pasture story. I was like, I was not expecting that.
that is heck of random too. But I'll tell you what, I've been watching that DB Cooper stuff for years,
Yeah.
and for people who don't know, he was a bank robber, right? How did he get the money? Do you remember the whole story?
With DB Cooper in the plane?
Yeah, yeah.
So like I think this plane was leaving Washington and either headed to Oregon or headed to California, or leaving Oregon and heading to California. But he gave a waitress a note that says like, I have a bomb, and it had instructions on it. But then the plane landed, and there was an exchange of cash. I think like $200,000 or something, and two parachutes were exchanged for like all the passengers on the plane. And then the plane took off again. I think it was he told the plane like, we're going to Mexico, but you have to be a certain altitude. And then he ended up using the parachutes to jump out of the plane. So like one of the parachutes went to the bundle of money, and then he took the other one, and then like they never found him. But the more I like investigated Bill, the more I learned about his skills being a paratrooper, and in 3 different wars, and a total survivalist. Like I totally believe that it was him and he pulled it off.
And I want to bring it up here. I just want people to see DB Cooper here because it's actually a pretty awesome twist to the story here. And let me see.
But like the random fun part of like me putting those stones together is yeah, that's him.
That's DB
And
Cooper.
and then his son is still alive, and I talk to him a lot.
And let me read this real quick here. This is written by Britannica and says DB Cooper, criminal. DB Cooper was a criminal who in 1971 hijacked a commercial plane traveling from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington, and later parachuted out of the aircraft with the ransom money. An extensive manhunt ensued, but the hijacker was never identified or caught, resulting in one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in U.S. history. The man used the alias Dan Cooper, but in the subsequent news reporting, a reporter misheard the name as D.B. Cooper, which became widely used. On November 24th, 1971, the day before Thanksgiving, a nondescript man who appeared to be in his mid-40s, about 6 feet tall, bought a $20 ticket for Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305. He gave his name as Dan Cooper, which later turned out to be fake. Shortly after takeoff from Portland, he handed a note to a flight attendant in which he claimed to have a bomb in his briefcase. He then proceeded to open the attached case, which contained numerous wires, red sticks, and a battery. Cooper demanded four parachutes and $200,000 in $20 bills, worth about $1.2 million in the early 21st century. After the flight landed in Seattle, Cooper released the 36 passengers when authorities provided the money and parachutes. However, he forced 2 pilots, a flight engineer, and a flight attendant to remain on the plane. After it refueled, he ordered the pilots to fly to Mexico City. Per his instructions, the plane flew under 10,000 feet at a speed slower than 200 knots around 8 p.m. while between Seattle and Reno, Nevada, widely believed to be near Ariel, Washington. Cooper lowered the rear steps and jumped. He then disappeared. And it's been a mystery ever since. Everybody's been looking for DB Cooper and who's DB Cooper. And there's been so many different people who have, they've said this is probably DB Cooper. And I've watched all those shows. But then you are researching someone totally unrelated, looking at a paranormal case, paranormal aspect, and then it ends up tying to somehow to DB Cooper, which I think is pretty insane.
It's totally insane. And this person's son is still alive, and his name is Greg. And I found him on Facebook, and I messaged him, and it was probably the most weirdest way to start a conversation with anyone. But in the mysterious cow pasture story, there's these gold coins that are pulled out of the earth in the field, and in a book by some people they found this book by James Churchward, but they matched some of the symbols with the coins, and they believe that the coins were related to the lost continent of Mu. And so I asked Greg, I was like, did your father ever talk to you about a mysterious cow pasture or show you a gold coin relating to the lost continent of Mu? Which is very weird to ask anybody. But he responded with yes and yes. And then I knew I had my person.
So the lost continent of Mu, that is something I've never heard of. Do you have any information on that? Or maybe I can bring it up.
If you look up Atlantis, sometimes you get stuff about Mu and then vice versa. And I guess Mu was like a continent in the Pacific. And I'm not sure how much of it I believe. I believe Atlantis is more realistic than Mu is, but there's still so much noise and information just kind of coming from places, and it's old. So how are you gonna find real facts about it?
Now let me give people context also to that story as well, because this is something I haven't heard of, and I'm sure most people in here have not either. Let me bring it up that way. When you talk about the coins, it makes it the context is there for individuals. And let me see. So lost content of Mu, whichever one it is. It says mythical lost continents, Mu is a lost continent introduced by Augustus Piangione, who identified the land of Mu with Atlantis. The name was subsequently identified with the hypothetical land of Lemuria by James Churchward, who asserted it was located in the Pacific Ocean before its destruction. The place of Mu in both pseudoscience and fantasy fiction is discussed in detail in Lost Continents. Geologists state that the existence of Mu and the lost continent of Atlantis has no factual basis, but this is physically impossible, as the continent can neither sink nor be destroyed in a short period of time, asserted in the legends, folklore, and literature about these places. But they say that about a lot of stuff. I don't know that if the ocean is 5%, only 5% has been discovered or looked at. I don't know that you could come to conclusions like that of what
right now.
What wouldn't have been out there. But okay.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
what I'm interested about is the symbols on the coins, and they said that they gave the coins, or they showed the coins to Duke University, and they said that Duke was really interested, and they made replicas of these coins, and it was said that 2 other coin caches were discovered within the same year and shown to Duke. But then Duke actually sent a professor. He gave him like a $100,000 grant, and this person moved to Ogden, Utah, to research the cow pasture and look for more artifacts. And so, like, if anyone out there is like really good at researching, like, I want to figure out who this professor was. Like, I just know it's late 70s, $100,000 grant, moved from Duke to, I think, Weber State University.
Well, that is awesome that you're out there attempting to find answers to questions. I mean, that's what life is all about. It's supposed to be about, is to present a question and then work to find the answer, and that's usually what makes life worth living, doing things like that. So it's cool that you're doing that as well. And we were talking before you had let me know about a month ago, right before you were about to do this, that you had gone to Bradshaw Ranch with Lorian Fenton, Jim Goodall, Melinda Leslie, and Hoodoo Tall. Wasn't that about a month ago or something like that?
When that specific time was probably a few years ago, I went with them.
Okay, you went somewhere about a month ago. What was that?
Oh,
a convention, or you went somewhere where you were going to do paranormal stuff?
I was gonna go to I went to Phoenix with UAP PD, and we were doing like a ghost investigation. Like a bunch of us, we got new equipment and we just wanted to test it out.
So what happened there? Is that UAP PD? They've been on the show before. Are they husband and wife? Or are they just friends?
They're just friends.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they just met. Like, they both live in Phoenix, and then like Dave had like a crazy paranormal event happen to him, and then Marianne had, I get sort of similar, and then they just like were on board, like the same page of like paranormal stuff happens to police officers.
Yeah.
Like, let's like share this and collect more data from other police officers.
Yes, and if anybody wants to see, if you go in the archive, once again, the After Hours archive, I want to say it's a little over a year ago, but you'll see UAP PD. Go listen to that story, because the thing is that just as Karen said, they're talking to police officers who normally wouldn't be speaking out about some of the things that they've seen, because they're on these shifts 24/7. So 2-3 in the morning, they're out there with the craziest stuff. And I always tell a story about how we were in Virginia City, Nevada for the fan party last year. And I had a chance to speak to one of the officers in a little small town. And I'm asking them, I'm like, is there weird things? Do you guys hear weird things when you're out here patrolling at night? And one of the guys was like, oh, no, we don't hear anything. But his partner was like, sometimes you do, sometimes you do hear things out here, and kind of makes you wonder, and X, Y, and Z. So with that being said, police, any of those taxi cab drivers, any of those people that work late at night are perfect for those sort of questioning. But we're going to go ahead and take our final break of the night tonight with our guest, Karen Hill, getting back into more conversation, and then also your questions. You pose some, we're going to ask them, And we got a couple more things to talk about. So make sure you don't go anywhere, or if you do, come right back. Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours Radio Show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. We will be right back. I promise. All right, we are clear, and you are. We're obviously still live, but if you need to do anything, this is the time to do it. We got about 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm good.
All right, and yeah, Jay Trusiger. I didn't realize Karen was going to be on tonight. Otherwise, I would have got here 30 minutes ago. It's okay because guess what? We have the archives. They're absolutely free, and you can hop in at any time and watch what you missed. He said, "Oh wait." It says, "Oh wait, it would have been an hour and a half ago." Either way, we got the archives absolutely free. We just appreciate you being here tonight, and you can definitely catch up on what you missed. Let's see who else has shown up, snuck in here at the last minute. Sarah Lick or Sarah Light, Zen Zapper. I don't remember saying Zen Zapper earlier. Zen Zapper, Mike Jones. Who? Mike Jones. Thanks for coming on in. Let's see. Who else? Tartar sauce. I don't remember tartar sauce. Tartar sauce might have been here earlier, but hey, I'm gonna say hello again if that's the case. Who else? Boop, boop, boop. Going back. Eve. Eve has shown up as well. Hi, Eve. Eve and Poncho Zork, miss you. Saying Rob G, hey, right back at you. Missed you coming through the door. I did get applesauce for sure. Okay, and I think we might be Boondock Mojo. Boondock, thanks for coming in. Now we're probably current, it looks like it. So let's take a moment if you can, guys, and let's just take a moment, look right under the screen, and click that button that says like, or click dislike. Click one or two. Just let us know how you felt about the show. It goes and helps the algorithm and does all those things for the show. So I'd appreciate it if you guys do that right now, as we have about 3 minutes left before we come back from break. And I'm going to take a sip of my cafe con leche. Right here. So let me step off. I don't want to do it on camera.
I have fancy water from Sedona. If you ever go to Sedona, go to their water bar. It's amazing. It's like a bar, but it has different taps of water, and it's just different water.
Wow. I gotta write that down.
Cool. It's next to the Bashes.
I got a funny story about that, actually. This is gonna be perfect. Hold on. The Doug Shelby, thanks for coming in. Hello, Rob G and fellow Soarhead. Sorry for having just got here. Hey, man, no problem. We're just glad that you're here. So thanks for coming in. We appreciate you. If you could, on your way through the door here, go ahead and click that like button for us real quick. We'd appreciate it. Also, Tamoth Man in the building. Hey, shout out Healing Energies to Mom out there. Also, glad that you have the time to come on in. We do appreciate you, Tamoth Man, as always. Yeah, so water. Let me write down the place first of all before I forget. I'm gonna forget to do this. Okay, what is the name of this place, Karen?
Let me find it. It's maybe Waterworks. It's next to the Bashes. Like there's only one Bashes in Sedona.
Okay, Bashes.
It's between Bashes and a coffee place, and this coffee place is amazing. They have a rose flavored latte. It's the best coffee I've ever had. It's called Sedona Waterworks.
Okay, awesome. I might have to take a trip there just for that, because my girl's sister is what we call a water snob. Okay, we go to a restaurant and she won't drink the water, or she has a million questions to ask about the water. This is the first time that it was brought to my attention that people are literally water snobs. So she was like, is this water triple filtered? Is this and she won't drink it? if it's not triple filtered, she will not drink it. We were at this dark place recently in Vegas, and granted, it was in the Venetian, and they were charging $30 for a little thing of fries, right? So garlic fries, $30. They gave us these water jugs, these carafes, and would you believe that the water tasted like tap water? So she went off. She's like, "Oh my God." I'm like, I tasted it and I was like, wow, I can't believe they would have served this type of water when you got $30 French fries here inside the Venetian. But yeah, they're just to point out to people, water snobs are real. There are definitely water snobs out there in the world who require their water to be triple filtered. And that was just funny that you said that, because I'm going to let her know that she could go to Sedona Waterworks and have like gourmet water,
Yeah.
right?
Like this is like reverse osmosis and shungite filtered.
That is crazy. All right, we
Yeah,
got
it's
about
called
4 seconds here. Here we're coming back right now. All right, everybody, welcome back. Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours Radio Show. Coming back with our guest here, Tucson Mufon Representative Karen Hill in the building. Having a great conversation, guys. It's been fun. If you missed any of the convo so far, jump in the archives. As I always say, it's absolutely free, so why not? As we go ahead and get ready to get into some of your questions this half hour with Karen right now, coming back, and we're going to do that right now. So let me go ahead and grab one of the first questions that came through. It looks like it would be from Xanos, who had asked you, is being a field investigator totally out of pocket?
Yes. I had to pay for the manual myself, and I mean, it doesn't really cost anything to do an investigation. Well, I mean, for me, I did buy like the Flight Radar app. Like you have the free version and then like the paid version. So like there's a few apps that I have the paid version of, and yeah, I'm not paid or reimbursed for those.
All right. And Angels Are Life Nikki is asking, do you have reports of giant rectangular ships the size of 3 football fields wide by 2 football fields wide long?
Not offhand. I would have to look into that. I haven't heard anything like that in my area.
All right. And we got Sarah Lick, or Sarah Light, is saying, hi, Karen. I keep finding heart-shaped rocks. Where do I get your rock book?
Love you, Sarah. So I wrote I created like a journal, and it's on Amazon, and anyone could go find it. But if you just type Karen Hill rocks, it'll be the first one to come up, and it's like a journal for you to like write about how and where and why you found or either a rock or a crystal or a bone or a fossil. It's interesting.
Sounds cool. Sounds cool. And let's see. Mike Jones saying, is likely we have visitors active current in the administration firing people due to lack of touch since they are from another planet. He re-asked it here. It says, is it likely active elements in this administration are visitors, which is why they find it easy to lay off humans from Earth since they are out of touch? Ooh.
Yes, I mean, if you would just blend in, why not go into that civilization and then take positions of power? But I heard recently at a different conference that said, like, if a person in power is requesting or doing things that are inhuman, it's probably because they are.
And I'm with you there. And that's why, going back to you talking about how those people were being described and being able to walk amongst us, and then you look around, because let's just call it Elon Musk, right? That's who people are talking about not being a human being. And there are, prior to this administration, there's definitely been times where he's exhibited non-human characteristics, just like android sort of responses and interactions. So I don't know, you guys might be onto something there. And then with that thought logic, finding it easy to lay off humans from Earth since they're so out of touch, that makes sense, man. Makes sense. Robert Redmond's Clip Channel just saw your live, Mr. Rob G. What an awesome topic. Thank you. And our guest is doing awesome here tonight as well, as we go ahead and get into the next question here. Where is it at? All of a sudden, I lost the live. Let me see here. Okay. All right. I think that was the actual last one. Let's see. Okay. That was the last question. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about your experience, which I thought was last month, but you said it was a few years ago, with Melinda Leslie, Jim Goodall, Lorian Fenton, all friends of this show, great friends.
Mm-hmm.
What did you actually end up doing with them?
This was it was Melinda Leslie's birthday, and it's a long story, but I think I can shove it in 20 minutes. But it was just a weird event where like everyone was just in the same place, and Melinda's like, I'm having a party, like just come over. And like everyone, like psychic, clairvoyant, spoon bending, UFO, everyone cool in Sedona who was in that circle was there at this party. And it was really cool because like I was just eavesdropping like on everyone's conversation, because it was definitely like out of this world conversations. And like night came, and then Melinda like always carries her night vision in her car, and then we're for like an hour and a half we're just looking at like just things flying around, and like every 45 seconds like someone spotted a new UFO craft in the air, and like everyone's neck was hurting because like there was so much activity, like there's always activity in Sedona. And then like it was like approaching 10 o'clock, and then someone's like, hey, let's go to Bradshaw Ranch. And I'm just like, what? Like, that's like a 40-minute drive. Like, I'm tired. I don't want to go. But everyone was like, yeah, let's go. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I'm driving. And so like it was Melinda Leslie, and then Jim Goodall, Lorian Fenton, and then I had Hoodoo Tall and my friend Ashley in my car. And then there was like another group of people, UFO Garage podcast. They were there. And then we arrived, and I instantly saw a UFO. Like it was two peach little lights, and they were just slowly just going. And I was like, hey, you guys, everyone, like, do you see this? Like, is this a UFO? And like everyone's just talking by their cars. And I'm like, no, you guys stop talking and look at this UFO right here, right now. And then like Melinda's like, what? And like it just went behind a mountain. And then like it was just there. I swear I saw it. And then so like we're ready to go explore the ranch. And then Lorian Fenton, she wants to stay in the car because it's a lot of walking, which I understood. But then I was just like, why do you want to be alone? Like this area is a paranormal like hotspot. Like I would not choose to be alone in this situation. But she wanted to sit in the car. And so like we're walking, and there's like these buildings, and then your Hoodoo Tall and the UFO Garage boys they leave. They don't go in the building. They go off in the field. And then so I'm in the house with Melinda, Jim, and my friend Ashley. And then it was just creepy. Like there was just noises, and like it was just our voices echoing off all the walls inside. And then like we had flashlights because it's like 11 o'clock at night. And then there's this wall that has been graffitied, and it says, I want to believe. And it was kind of funny and scary because like Jim wanted his picture with this wall, and then Melinda just got a new phone, and she's just trying to figure out how to open her camera app. And like the energy just went very weird. And I was just kind of like, the boys are not here. If anything happens, like I might be the strongest person in this room, and I know the fastest, and I don't know, flight or fight, whichever is going to happen, but I don't like the situation. And so like I had to like show Melinda like how to use her phone, and then we take the picture, and I'm like, we have to leave. We have to find the boys. And so like we mosey your way out of the building, and then like I yell for Jay, and like he's like, we're right here. And then he was like, we had to get away from the noise because they actually wanted to like find something spooky. And I'm like, well, we were in the house. There was a lot of spooky there. But then we go out in this field, and it was interesting that like if anything was out there, Melinda's voice like scared it away. Like she definitely has an outdoor voice and she didn't turn it off. And if there's any like government agencies like monitoring that ranch, like they had to turn all their microphones to low because of just the volume. And then we're just out in the field for like 45 minutes and like it's dark and we're just sky watching and talking. And then like I'm wondering about Lorianne, like, is she gonna be in the car when we have to go back and get her? Because I'm like, she's probably Bigfoot food right now. I don't know. And then and like I'm surprised we stood out there for 45 minutes. And I'm like, we should go back. And so like we start moseying back. And then there's like 3 buildings out there. And then we get to 2 of them, which are right next to each other. And then like the shortcut to like the road, the exit was like right there. And I'm almost there. And Melinda's like, no, turn around. Let's go between the houses. And I'm like, I don't want to go between the houses. Like the road is right here. Let's just take it and go leave. And so she makes me walk back. And so like now we're going between the 2 buildings. She's like, everyone stop. And she's like, right here is a portal. And she was like, there's more ghosts, more UFO, more Bigfoot, more cryptid sightings right here. And I'm just like, cool. I don't want to be here right now. And everyone is just silent and we're just listening. And then Jim is like, let's turn off the lights. And I'm like, this is the worst part to turn off the lights at. And so we turn off the lights and it's just dark and it's just silent and you're just waiting for anything to just come and take you. And like, you know, when you're having like a bad dream and you're trying to like wake yourself up out of it, like I was just trying to have like an outer body experience, trying to just get out of that situation. And then there was this green light that appeared and it was so scary. And everyone was just like, what is that? But this green light just appeared from like the stars to the center of our group and no one knew what to think. And then Melinda said, this is Cassiopeia. And she started giving us a sky tour and that light was actually a laser pointer. And I'm like, this is the worst time for a sky tour right now. What are you doing? And like everyone was like, oh, thank God, like it's Melinda and not like aliens. And she's just pointing out the stars. And like, I'm just like, we have to get back to Lorianne. And then luckily Jim was like, he had recently got knee surgery. And so he was like, we should go. My knees are hurting. And I'm like, yes, we should go. And then like, we're finally like getting back to our cars slowly. And like, I was worried that like this night might continue because what if we get back and Lorianne is not in the car? Like, where could she be? Like, we would have to go hunt her down and we would not know where to start. Yeah. But luckily, I feel like we were out there for an hour and 45 minutes. But when we got back, like Lorianne was still in her car and we're like, oh, thank God, you're not Bigfoot food. You're still here. But like, I felt like I died 3 times that night.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. I actually was out with those same people, Lorianne, Melinda, and Jim Goodall out in Virginia City. And we did a sky watch right after we left this haunted town. We went on a ghost tour first. Then we went on the top of the hill to do a sky watch. And it was the same thing. They were trying to kind of get lost in the trees and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not walking over there. I'm not walking into the trees. I'm in this parking lot where we're watching the sky. This is as far as I'm going, right?
Yeah.
Or I'm getting back in the car. But they were wanting to venture out there. But saved it, Jim's knees saved the night, it sounds like, which is actually awesome. Because they weren't listening to Karen saying, hey, let's get up out of here. I'm not feeling right? Because once you get that feeling, you kind of got to listen to it, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely.
So that is awesome. That is awesome. You also, you send me pictures occasionally, and you're always with some big-time celebrity, big-time UFO celebrity. Name some of the people that you met up with.
Well, last weekend I met up with Tony Rodriguez and JP, and I met this new friend named Julia Kamen, and she was a speaker at the event. But there was probably like a dozen different speakers at that place, and it was fun. It was awesome. Every night there was like a party with like lights and a rave and just everything, and that was cool and unexpected.
Didn't you meet Jacques Vallée? And haven't you met I want to say it was Jacques Vallée. Did you have a picture with Jacques Vallée?
I had William
Yeah.
Henry.
I know you sent me a bunch of them, and I'm like, oh wow, okay. She met up with that person. She met up with that person. I know you met up with Nick Pope. You
Hmm.
talked about. So
Yeah,
you
Nick
have
Pope
a
is
funny
coming to
story.
Tucson Mufon in May, so that'll be fun.
He's coming as an investigator.
He is coming to give a lecture at
Okay.
Tucson Mufon.
Okay. Then you told me about a story where you ended up driving him home. How did that happen?
Oh, it was really fun. I drove him to Phoenix for a Phoenix Mufon engagement, and then we all went out to lunch, and then we drove back home and to Tucson, and he fell asleep in my car, and those were fun selfies. And then he invited me back to his place to, I guess, meet his wife and nightcaps, and that was really fun. His wife is really cool and really interesting. Like, if she wanted to talk at one of my events, I would be all for that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Who else have you come across? A lot of people out here, all the names you mentioned, people are like, these are people in the field that they want to
Mhm.
meet.
In
So it's very
September, I feel like I was blessed to meet Elena Denon, Tony Rodriguez, and then JP. Oh, and Dr. Michael Sala. It was
interesting.
it was a really it was a huge event. And then they actually had like one of the events that night was like a UFO flyover, and so there was hundreds of us just out there at the hotel, just like waiting, and like it happened. Like there was like a triangle craft that just flew over, and everyone saw it, and I filmed it, and it was it was so cool. And then there's gonna be the next one is in September in South Carolina, and hopefully there's another flyover that I can catch.
That would be awesome. That would be
Mhm.
awesome. And yeah, it's definitely been a lot of fun talking to you tonight. Like I said, interviewed you last year. I know I was filling in for Dave. They had you booked as a guest, and I was like, okay, Karen Hill.
Mhm.
And we got to have that conversation. And then I've seen you grow. I've seen you grow in this field since last time. You were just starting out back then. You haven't been
Mhm.
doing it for long. When we talked, and then now this time a year later, you've had so many more experiences. You've been to so many more
Mhm.
places, and you're just doing great right now. And I'm just glad to see it. And doing something like you had said earlier, MUFON is not a paid thing,
Mhm.
but it is also something that is helping move this along and helping
True.
capture data in order to hopefully answer some questions at the end of the day. So anybody that's out there doing something like that is doing it, for me, is doing it for all the right reasons. And so I'm always glad when I can talk to somebody that's actually out there doing that. And maybe to get some of you guys out there who are just like, man, how can I make a difference? How can I do something that will help within the field? You could do
Mhm.
something as simple as checking your local area to see if they need any MUFON investigators out there, and kind of just help this narrative and help us tell this story. So I think it's a good one, good promotion for MUFON. And once again, I'm just glad to see you so much more involved in different things, since
Mhm.
just 12 months ago. So
Right,
good
yeah,
stuff.
and, next year, I'll be speaking at a paranormal conference in Sierra Vista.
Well, that'll be good. We got to make
It will
sure
be.
that every single year we're going to see this progress and growth with Karen Hill, and we'll keep
Mhm,
having her on because she's very interesting. She's funny too. She's has a good sense of
mhm,
humor, and I definitely like that. And then once again, you have a great energy too. And like I
mhm.
said, just keep doing this stuff for the right reasons. Why don't you tell people, because I was unaware you had this rock book. Why don't you tell
Oh,
people a little bit about the book? And we have about 5 minutes left, where they could find it, and we'll kind of go from there.
okay, so on Amazon, just type Karen Hill Rocks, and it should be the first one to come up. And, I created this because, like, I guess I'm an avid rock collector, and, like, I pick one up and I'm like, I'm always gonna remember where I found this rock at. And then like maybe a year later, I'm like, what is this and why is it in my house? And so it's like you forget. And so like and I'm a designer and kind of a nerd. And so like I wish I had this book to show you a page, but like I wrote like places for you to draw a picture of it, and then to write like where you found it, what you were doing, what you plan to do with it, like what color is it, how, how does it make you feel, and it's 100 pages of stuff that you found. But then I have 50 pages of like rocks, crystals, minerals that you've bought, because sometimes I've bought these and I'm like, where did I buy this? I don't remember. But I guess it's good for, I guess, remembering the stuff that you find. And then I want to make another book about I guess finding UFOs, but I feel like it'll be like a niche journal for like, if you have a relative that is always seeing UFOs, you go buy them this, so then they can start logging in what they saw and where they saw, and I guess how they saw it. But like, for like being a MUFON field investigator, like I can take like the research questions that are in the questionnaire and then apply it to this journal, which will just get people like all thinking on the same page.
Yes, do it fast too, Karen, because you just told the world, and now somebody can actually go and do it. So you got to hurry up and do it now because you put it out there. That would be cool. That's needed, and that kind of goes back to the questions I was asking you earlier, like the steps people should take to make sure that they best catalog their event. And this will actually do that for them if they have a book like that. So yeah, do it for somebody else does it. I would like to see you get the benefit off that instead of some grifter out there that might be listening. Like, oh wow, that's something. Yeah, we don't want that at all. So that's awesome. Yeah, please do that. And also what was the name of the book here? Rock Collecting Journal. I think Tomothman.
It's called Stop, I See a Rock.
Okay, yes, there it is. Stop, I See a Rock collecting journal. Tomothman has put the link out there at Amazon.com, and let me bring it up on the screen actually so people can see what this looks like. And on the radio land out there, it's Stop, I See a Rock. Type that into your browser and you should see it come up on Amazon, and the support would be awesome. Let's see. Stop, I See a Rock. All right, let me bring this up on the screen.
I see it.
Oh, I see a t-shirt. Is that you with the t-shirt? No. Okay.
No, I guess type Karen Hill Rocks and it's my cool SEO.
All right. Yes, okay. Here it is right here. All right, we're going to share this on the screen, guys. Here we go. Let me bring it up here on the screen. Stop, I See a Rock collecting journal by Karen Hill. This is right on Amazon, so definitely make sure you guys go out and show your love and support for Karen's work. And yeah, you're just gonna have to keep being awesome, Karen. Like I said, it's been really cool talking to you the second time now and just seeing where you've gone so far. And I can tell, like I said, all the people that you've talked to, that you've shown me pictures of over this year actually has been awesome. Like, damn, she met that person. Oh wow, she was in the same room as that person, and I think it's gonna get bigger and better for you. So
definitely
can't wait to see that growth. And outside of the book, so the book is on Amazon. Where can people find you, get in contact with you, and give them your YouTube channel?
Facebook or Instagram. Instagram, it's Tucson Mufon. My YouTube channel is actually Capt Crod, or Captain K Rod, as Dave likes to say. But yeah, I would love for anyone to like watch my mysterious cowpaster video, and like I really want to find who this Duke University professor is to add, I guess, to finish the pieces of this puzzle, because like there's something there, and like I definitely want to go investigate it, and I just need help researching because I can't figure out how to find this person. So if anyone out there is really good at researching, contact me.
All right. And they can contact Karen, as Tim Mothman has put here in the chat, on Facebook at facebook.com/Karen.Hill5437. So make sure you guys reach out with some information to Karen. Karen, it's been a pleasure. Just tell me next time you want to come on. Let's make it happen. And we'll talk again soon.
Thank you so much.
All right, take care. Karen Hill, everybody. Thanks. I want you to make sure you guys don't go anywhere. Come right back right after this break.
Move the
You're
needle.
listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio.
You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
All right, we'll be right back with hour number 3 right after this break. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio After Hours Radio Show. I want to thank Karen Hill once again for hours 1 and 2. We have Drew Banky coming up this hour along with Steve Stockton, Tales Untold, Mr. Person Mysteries. So we come back here in about 10 seconds, guys. 10 seconds, awesome. Hour 3, don't go anywhere. And here we go. All right, everybody, welcome back. Spaced Out Radio, after hour number 3, the final hour of the night. I want to thank our guest, Karen Hill, Tucson Mufon. Have an awesome conversation, hours 1 and 2. If you missed it, hop on the archive, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. We're going to be getting into some Steve Stockton, Tells and Told Miss Person Mysteries, and also Drew Banky with After Hours Wrap Up. And we may show something else. I don't know. We'll find out right here in this hour, Spaced Out Radio, where the options are also actually endless as we get ready to go ahead and jump right on in to Steve Stockton, Tells Untold Mr. Person Mysteries. As I always say, we definitely welcome him being a part of the show and appreciate what he brings to the show. So, Steve Stockton, let's get it in.
Welcome to Tales Untold and Missing Persons Mysteries on Spaced Out Radio's After Hours. My name is Steve Stockton, and I'm here to take you on a journey of mysteries, legends, and true stories. Come, join me on this strange adventure of Tales Untold and Missing Person Mysteries. What follows are just a few cases where children seemingly vanished into thin air and or under bizarre circumstances, only to come back with a tale equally as or possibly even more strange and incredible as the disappearance itself. The earliest report of something like this happening is from August of 1897 and takes place in Massachusetts, Maine, United States. Now, this part of Maine is known for its extremely dense woods and forests and many lakes and streams running around and throughout. Again, be on the lookout for patterns here or parameters which are familiar to many of our other videos on this channel. I say this because this whole incident started with a 6-year-old little girl named Lillian Carney, who was out with her mother picking berries. Blueberries, as a matter of fact. The family wanted to spend a nice, relaxing day together in the woods of Mullen Bog. According to Lillian's parents, the girl had vanished from right under their noses. Now, while exact details aren't very clear this far in the future as to exactly how the girl went missing, her parents simply said she was seemingly there one minute and gone the very next. What started as a small preliminary search turned into more than 300 searchers, all calling out for the girl by name and looking through every known inch of the woods, all to no avail. Lillian was gone for almost 2 entire days and nights. After scouring and searching the entire forest and woods, 46 hours after her parents had reported her as missing, Lillian was found alive, just a couple of miles from where she had first disappeared. So, in all that time, she hadn't gotten very far. Why hadn't the over 300 searchers and professional rescue teams found her? I know in the 1800s they didn't have the technology or knowledge of forensics like we have today, but still, you'd think they'd have searched the area where Lillian ended up. She wasn't very mobile in the amount of time that she was missing. It's not as though she were walking around the entire time either. Around 10 o'clock in the morning on the second day of the search, a man named Bert Pollard found the missing girl. Despite immediately crying out for her mama, Lillian seemed healthy, happy, and even content when Bert found her. She was still holding the berries in her hand she had picked while in the presence of her family before she disappeared. Now, this is some 2 days later almost. Her father had just gotten done telling her that she must be careful, for some berries found in the woods could be harmful, even deadly and poisonous. The little girl was scared. Perhaps these fresh blueberries were some of those bad kinds, and while she dared not eat them, she didn't think to get rid of them for some reason. Yes, that's right. She carried around a handful of blueberries for 46 hours while lost in the woods and trying to find her way back to her parents. Lillian seemed absolutely fine and didn't have a scratch on her. When asked what had happened, had she wandered off? Why? Here is what the young girl had to say. Lillian, in a perfectly calm and matter-of-fact voice, informed everyone she was, quote, in a place where the sun was constantly shining, unquote. This was strange because she was missing for 46 hours. She'd gone missing during the daytime and was found in the morning as well. Therefore, she would have had to have experienced at least 2 nightfalls. It's just not possible for the sun to have shined the whole time. Obviously, the sun doesn't shine all day, but sets eventually. In addition to the sun apparently never setting in this place Lillian claims she was at the entire time she was missing, she also told people there were strange beings the size of her cat who she would keep away from her by clapping loudly. Allegedly, it would startle the being and, like a cat, it would run away. Some people wondered how she clapped with holding a handful of berries. Perhaps she laid them down, picked them back up again. We don't know that part of the story. But that does make this story even more bizarre. Why had she been so adamant to keep these fresh berries with her when she wasn't even sure if they were poison or not? It's a question no one thought to ask her, and therefore, unfortunately, we don't have an answer. While she said the beings she encountered were the size of her cat, and some sources even reported the girl saying the beings even resembled her cats as well. However, that one detail about what the creatures actually looked like has never been revealed. She was only 6, so some of it must have been hard for her to describe and put words to. She also said she had heard the searchers looking for her, but hadn't been able to at first clearly hear her name, so she didn't approach and actually hid for fear they were vagrants or strangers. She only heard strangers yelling loudly in the woods, and her 6-year-old mind couldn't put 2 and 2 together to realize they were there to rescue her. It's unknown if Lillian even realized rescuing was something she was in need of. The girl seemed to be just fine where she was, at least in the first few minutes she was found. Once she finally heard them shouting her name, though, clearly, and was sure of it, only then did she show herself. The searchers and the authorities, of course, searched the area and the surrounding area of where Lillian was eventually found, but they found no entities or creatures that looked like cats, and in fact, nothing strange at all. Night came and went as normally, as did the day. Many of the people involved chalked this up to a scared 6-year-old's wild imagination, thinking or perhaps even pretending her pet cat was there with her for comfort and possibly playing pretend that the sun was still shining so as not to have to deal with her inherent fear of the dark. This is exactly the point many have been trying to make, not just about Lillian's case, but of all the cases of children who have vanished and returned in this way. Is whatever this is, whatever is happening in the woods and who or whatever is responsible, are they purposely choosing victims who won't be believed simply because of their age or their intelligence, no matter what it is they have to say? Could be. Or so it seems, at least to some. We can discuss this in the comments later. Now, the local press reasoned that the sun Lillian was seeing was actually the moon, which was full and in the clear country sky, and she thought maybe it was a dimmer sun. Also, they insisted the strange beings she was seeing were rabbits. These rabbits were allegedly what she likened to her cats. Although, in reality, neither of these could possibly be the case, however, because, upon further investigation, turns out it was overcast both nights she was missing, and therefore the moon wouldn't have been visible to the little girl. The sky would have actually been much darker than normal because the stars and moon would have been covered by this overcast state. Also, about the rabbits. Lillian was from the region and knew the difference between cats and rabbits. With all the attention on missing people in the woods and national parks these days, all these questions with very little answers and people like us just trying to figure it out, we're bound to come across some strange and bizarre tales of the woods, any woods. These extremely peculiar cases take place all around the world. Our next case happened in Sweden in 1922. An 8-year-old boy named Austin Engstrom left school with a friend, and instead of going straight home, the 2 young boys decided to go to a third friend's house, where there were many of their schoolmates just playing together, as 8-year-olds often do. When Austin had finished playing with his friends, it was around 3:30 p.m. and time for him to take the usual short and very familiar walk home. It was something he did so frequently, he said later that he could have done it with his eyes closed, and if the walk was any shorter, he just may have been able to. However, by 7:30 p.m., 4 hours after Austin was last seen leaving his friend's house to walk home, his parents started to worry. His mother sent his older brother Gustav to go and find him and bring him home. Gustav was able to track down some of Austin's classmates who had been with earlier. The children told him they hadn't seen Austin since he had left, alone, at around 3:30 p.m. Gustav walked Austin's entire route home the same way he knew his brother would have gone, but found no sign at all that he had ever walked this direction. Gustav became very scared and very worried about his brother. He was deciding how he was going to break the news to his parents, especially his mother, about the fact that he wouldn't be bringing Austin home. He was thinking about this and who knows what else, I'm sure, as he walked into the house. He immediately noticed, however, that he didn't have to be sad or worried after all. His brother Austin was sitting there on the couch next to his mother, telling an extremely strange story about what had happened to him and where he had been for almost 5 hours. Other than shivering due to being extremely cold in temperature, Austin looked perfectly fine. Terrified, sure, but physically fine nonetheless. Now here's what 8-year-old Austin had to say about his almost disappearance. He says he was walking home when, for some unknown reason, he randomly, and for the first time in his life, decided to take a shortcut through the woods. He essentially felt the need to go through the deep woods and forest instead of staying on the clear trail, which he was so familiar with. He went on to explain that the entire woods had seemingly come alive, in his words, with all kinds of wildlife crawling out of the bushes and trees, just coming literally almost out of nowhere to scurry around in front of him in a seemingly playful manner, just to scamper off again just as quickly, and he says the skies grew suddenly dark. The day seemed overcast, but strangely it wasn't, as the sun was seemingly still shining so brightly down. It's like some veil had been thrown over the sunny day. What he described sounds like when storm clouds roll in, how the sky looks and how the air starts to feel. It was like that, only no storm was rolling in that day. Suddenly, he said he smelled something very gross and acrid, something unlike anything he'd ever smelled before, and he later went on to explain, quote, I looked up and noticed 3 gray objects hovering silently above me. They were so close, I could have thrown a stone at them. The objects were pulsating as if they were breathing, and I saw 2 dark lines on them. A bit further away, over the woods, another 2 objects were floating. They were bigger and darker than the ones above me, end quote. He apparently blacked out or passed out after he saw these pulsating objects both above him and in the distance. He claims the next thing he remembered was lying on the road in the pitch dark of night, not too far from his home. He was freezing cold and disoriented. When he relayed all this to his parents, they attributed his claim to his wild imagination. Gustav swore he had thoroughly searched the road and the exact spot even where Austin claimed to have been when he came to. Between the time he left his friend's house at 3:30 until he wandered home around 4 to 4.5 hours later, other than the objects he saw in the sky, Austin had absolutely no memory at all. Years later, Austin would be interviewed by some UFO researchers from Sweden, and here's what he explained to them all these years later. Quoting here, where was I during those hours? I estimate having been gone for around 4 to 4.5 hours. When I arrived home, I almost got beaten because they thought I was lying. They sent me to bed, and I was bedridden for 4 days. Probably I'd caught a cold while lying in the road. It looked as if the objects were pulsing simultaneously, all 3 of them, just like octopus functioning. They take in water and move by blowing it out. It looked like the objects used the same technique. They moved in a very elegant way, changed direction, and appeared to steer it with this pulsating. Where was I? Gustav cycled this way while I was lying there without seeing me. I've pondered this so many times, end quote. Now, there's still no...
All right, Steve Stockton tells Untold Missing Person Mysteries. Once again, we are so glad and grateful to have Steve Stockton as a part of the show right here, After Hours Radio Show, hour number 3. And because it's hour number 3, you also know who else owns the hour number 3 here, which is the guy in the chat, the guy who is always on the screen right next to me, none other than Drewski Banky.
You're an irredeemable monster!
Come here, I'm gonna eat you! Get in my belly!
Kick him in the nard! He doesn't have nards! Do it!
Wolfman's got nard. You're a monster.
Yes. We have Drew Banky with the After Hours wrap up stepping in the building. Drew Ski, what's going on, bro?
Yo, what's up?
Man,
Pretty interesting guess, huh?
Yeah.
Lot of stories.
A lot of stories. And like I say, it was great seeing her grow because I interviewed her about a year ago. She was just starting out in this stuff, hadn't been with Mufon too long. And you just see how many experiences she's had since the last time we talked. That's why it was awesome to be able to sit here and talk to her tonight. And we'll end up doing that again because I think you think in the beginning when you start going through these things, it's like every year you like 2, 3, 4 times the experience when you come back. It starts to kind of curve off, right, as the more you get into this because you've learned everything. But at this point, it's like every year should be something really impactful and delightful like tonight. So, yeah, awesome, definitely awesome guest. It's cool to be able to talk to someone from Mufon, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they have a lot of people send them information. I know I started when I first started having experiences. I started, like I told the story before, gave a few of my instances, but after a while, it just, kind of after those first couple ones, unless it's something like really major or something like that. But, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about MUFON. I was wearing, I had a t-shirt one time. I was wearing it on interview. This is years and years ago. And it was a MUFON shirt. And I found it at like a thrift store or something like that. And it was just like a t-shirt. It was like from a MUFON conference or something like that. It had MUFON on the side of a blue t-shirt. And so I was like, I just wear it for like interviews and stuff. It'd be cool. Man, someone comment on there and they're like, there's from MUFON, this, that, and the other. And they're turning me in for masquerading as MUFON and all this stuff. I'm like, dude, I found this at a thrift store for $5. Like, get out of here. Like, who are you?
They're trying to stolen valor you on some Mufon stuff. That is weird.
Yeah, they stole it. Yeah, they stole it. Stolen valor for MUFON.
That is hilarious. Yeah, go ahead.
It's just funny, man. It was just funny.
It's hilarious. That's freaking hilarious. They're gonna turn you in for representing the brand. Come on, you weren't up there saying you were from MUFON. Although I encourage people to get into and here's why I would even say that is because for one, it gives you an opportunity to do something. Like you may be thinking all the time, like, what can I do to kind of help this story or help this narrative? And that is one of the things that you could do if you have some time on your hands and you're, just like Karen said, if you're into solving clues and putting together puzzle pieces, and if you're good at that sort of thing, then the MUFON, I'm sure, needs you. Ufology needs you. We'll supersede MUFON. Ufology needs you, and we need some of the best inquisitive people in there to be solving these and taking in these requests, because people who, if you're thinking outside of the box, you may be more open to some of the options or avenues you're going to go down to try to answer these questions.
True that. I was thinking, just listen to the interview, listen to Karen, and some of the stuff that you guys were talking about, you should, if you're gonna, report it, do it soon so you can collect evidence and all that other stuff. I was thinking back about like the incidents that I had, after the Chaco Canyon, in the one in Cortez, Colorado, the face-to-face. I wish I would have had the sense to, or had the knowing then to report it but I really didn't even, I don't know, I didn't even see it as, I didn't categorize it kind of as a UFO thing. I categorized it more like a paranormal event for a while until, I started processing it and everything. And then I kind of realized, it's kind of all in one. But it would have been interesting to go to that back deck and have some testing on it, on the area, like see if there's the energy's different on that deck that I had the incident on and all that. But hindsight's always 2020. But just got me thinking, of things that I've had a lot of instances, that like the one me and Ella had a shared experience, whether it was a UFO or a comet, whatever it was something that was changing color, traveling horizontal with the earth, that was going the same direction of us as we were going to the hospital when she was in labor with Hawk. And now, just the other night, I had, like last night, I had Hawk outside. I said, Hawk, let's go outside and burn up some of these tumbleweeds. Like the wind's been blowing, a bunch of tumbleweeds piled up. Let's go out and have a little fire outside and, just be outside and look at the stars by the fire. It's kind of cold out, but it's totally clear. He loves to look at the stars. He'll be jumping at the sky, like trying to grab the stars. He's like, he thinks he can grab them, but he's starting to talk, and he's starting to tell the story of like when he was born, and he's giving out little things, like he's saying this name repeatedly, and I can't remember it, and I can't get it down, but he's saying it repeatedly as he's pointing up to the sky, and it's starting to freak me out, but just like all that, like those are like really magical experiences that might help move the needle for humanity one day if it was more well known, outside of the people that have seen my interviews and stuff like that. But I don't go into detail all the time on those either, on other interviews. Mostly like on these late night talks right now, like just listen to the guest will bring up something, and our process of how I should have a different way of reacting to certain situations or instances that I had over the years. But I don't know, it's all working out pretty good. So
as you're saying that, because my whole thing is I was telling Karen and talking to Karen about earlier, is I want to make sure that people are educated ahead of time prior to the experience, so they know what to do. Like they have been given from a person that's going to take your request. You already know ahead of the time what they want, so in the moment because even though it happened so fast, you'll at least have thought about what Mufon is going to need from this situation when you turn this information in. So it just makes you and puts you in a better situation to first capture the UFO and zoom out and do all the things that you need to do to make the video as best as you can. I had that prior to my sighting, which is why I was able to kind of zoom out, give context and all those things. So I think if everyone has that knowledge prior to their first sighting, then the sightings are going to get substantially better and more be able to be presented in more of a better light than someone just catching a random shaky video with the phone in selfie mode, where they, instead of turning it the sideway, which you're supposed to do anytime you do this. So I just think this is good, and it's good that people are going to be able to know that information, and I think it just prepares them for the next sighting. And maybe that's a goal. Maybe that's something we could do, is put together a class or a conference where it's like UFO 101, where all the basic stuff you get taught, coming into the field. I think that might be something right there. Let's do it. The Drew Banky and Rob G UFO 101 conference. Let's do it.
The real value of it is finding the pattern in repeated stories. Like there's things popping up that I wish I would have documented a lot better, because now they're popping up, and it's making a lot more sense for me. So
very true information, Drew Banky, as we go ahead and get ready to jump into the final break of the night. Awesome stuff so far. We're talking the after hours wrap up, what we thought about the interview tonight with Karen Hill. If you missed any of the interview, hop in the archives, youtube.com/Space Out Radio. And we'll be back in a moment with Drew Banky, after hours wrap up, myself, and then maybe UFO and Weird News to end the show. We'll see. See you back here in just a minute. All right, clear. Good stuff. What's up, Drewski? You got some?
I was
on the break.
Yeah, I was rapping with some people in the chat during the Steve Stockton, and we were talking about my Native American name, and so I told him I would say it on air. So it's Jashko Benishni, and that's Blue Thunder Man.
You were breaking
in
up at the end. Say that again.
Oh, Jashko Benishni, and that's Blue Thunder Man in Anishinaabe.
That is awesome stuff.
Yeah.
I don't have my name. I need to go find out my name so I can have a really cool.
Benishni. Yeah. So it was given to me by, what they consider like an Anishinaabe or Ojibwe spirit. And it was channeled through soaring eagle woman, Beatrice Kiwa Jackson. And she's still alive. She's my auntie, my adopted auntie. And she's a sun dancer too. She's approaching 70 now. She's not in her 70s already, and she's still going strong. She's an amazing woman. But it's not as great as name as the Tucson Mufon. Like that's hands down greatest name ever. It flows.
It's a
so
tongue
good.
twister too.
Yeah,
tongue twister. If you say it fast 3 times. Tucson Mufon, Tucson Mufon, Tucson Mufon.
Tucson Mufon, Tucson Mufon, Tucson Mufon, Tucson Mufon. I bet you can't do it 10 times. Hey, Rob, I sent you a picture on Facebook in your messages. If you could bring that up, flash it.
All right, let me
real
see
quick
what we
for the peeps.
Let me see. I'll bring it up. Go ahead.
Man,
and keep
if no one has have got plans for Mercer May and you're looking for something to do, come to Wisconsin. They're still got tickets. Man, Chris Bledsoe. If you buy all 3 day ticket for the all 3 days, you get automatic ticket to the Skywatch with Chris Bledsoe, myself, Jimmy Church, and others. So that's gonna be pretty fun. Oh, and your boy got bumped up to the main stage on Friday, 2 p.m. Got switched over, moved from a different stage to the main stage, and I will be at the VIP dinner. So
that's what's up. Rubbing elbows, man. You gotta see talk to some of those dudes, man. Let them know, first of all, handle your business, but you get in a little moment in time, let them know that we would love to have them on the show, and just send them our way. All of them. Jimmy Church, all of them.
Yeah. All of them. Yeah, I got a booking manager now too, a booking agent, and I'll be doing an interview in Chicago at News Nation the day before when I fly in to this conference. So the conference is Contact Modalities Expo. I'm down here on the far bottom right-hand corner.
Yep.
And May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And it's at a resort. So there's like there's rooms there. It's a really nice place. Crazy lineup. Deb Shakti's on the lineup too. Don't wanna forget her. She's gonna be there.
Love Debs. Let's see. Looking at who else is on there.
Adam Apollo, obviously Chris Bledsoe is the keynote. Paula Harris, Renero Hernandez. He's the Contact Modalities. He has like a set of books out and everything. Yeah, and there's a bunch of other amazing people that's going to be there. So.
Cool stuff.
It's worth checking out. So we're checking out.
Definitely want to make sure you guys do that, as we have about 45 seconds left before we come back from break and get ready to bring this thing home. Let's see.
Oh yeah, my presentation on the main stage on Friday will be psychedelics and their role in human evolution. And it'll be an hour and a half, and at the end of it, I'm going to do a live in-person demonstration of the pendulum. I'm going to have pendulums there, and I'm also going to bring dowsing rods, have people come up, and we're going to have a really cool, hopefully paradigm shifting demonstration.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show. Me, your host, Mr. Rob G. We are back in the building talking the wrap-up. We're talking about Karen Hill, talking about Tucson Mufon, the conversation that we had earlier tonight. And we're going to do a little bit more of that. We'll also probably get into some UFO weird news of the week. Right about now, guys, we'll jump back in with you, Banky, and talk some more UFOs. And so we were talking before the break on how it's just very important, I think, for, people to engage in this subject and just find a way to engage, because, I'm sure you've thought back, and when I say you, I'm talking to people out there listening, and like, man, what can I do? Like, is there anything that I can do to kind of, do my part in this conversation that we're having here? And yeah, this is something you could do. It'd be very, very helpful. I'm considering doing it myself at some point. I figure maybe I'll get registered, and then that way, if I do have time here and there, I can kind of investigate some things. Because I think, as an investigator, you get to see over maybe 100 investigations that you conduct. You'll be able to start forming a picture of what is most common in your region and in your area. Then you become, with that data, you become a very important part of the conversation when it comes to being, having the knowledge from a research standpoint. So I think it's very important. It seems like anyone can do it. You just have to take the test, which I've heard from, I think Preston Dennett, that it's not the easiest test in the world, but if you pass it, then man, you got the keys to your region as far as UFO data goes, and I think that's pretty big. That's pretty big.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, there's definitely a lot of information gets pumped in to move on. So,
yeah, being an expert for your
and wherever it's going, I mean, obviously there's always that thought in the back of your head, like, where's this information really going? Is there someone siphoning off of MUFON? Is MUFON a front for something else? Is MUFON genuine? I think MUFON is genuine, and I definitely believe the people involved in it are genuine. Is it being siphoned off by higher powers? Probably. Like, I think their hands are in everything. So I think a large, one central point where information is being sent to, obviously it's going to be targeted. So, but what's it really matter when you get down to it? I mean, if you really understand this phenomenon, like for what it truly is, what's it really matter anyways? Everybody's just trying to figure this out. I don't think, I think there's people that have ideas of maybe trying to use it for, their own nefarious reasons and things like that. But in the end, there's fail safes that are put into place. This is a much larger phenomenon than we could ever fathom. It's much larger than UFOs. It's much larger than paranormal. It's all of it combined. And, I think we're, like I've said over and over in the past, I think we're only starting to see just the tip of the iceberg. So, and in the end, I think this is a conscious revolution. I think the UFOs and all this other stuff happening. I think it's all part of that grander scheme of the conscious evolution of humanity. I heard someone talked to AI, asked the question of like what's happening right now in humanity, and AI said, it's the first time I've ever heard it. I thought it was beautiful, but we're in transition to another phase of human beings. Like from Homo sapiens, now we're going into Homo luminous, where we're actually dealing with light and energy through our bodies in a much different way, and understanding how we process food, how we can do all these different things is coming to light now, like how we can fast, and how fasting produces stem cells in our body, so we actually can produce our own stem cells by fasting. Like we're just now starting to understand all these technologies, and that's just on the surface level, not even getting into psychedelic research and consciousness and remote viewing and all the other stuff. This is just baseline about our own human bodies. Is we're starting to learn so much about it.
Yeah. No, I agree. And there's so much more that we're going to learn. And that once everyone realizes that, it doesn't take academics, it doesn't take any level of school. Like the people in those institutions and those scientific organizations, they don't have to be the ones to take the burden on of figuring this stuff out. We have the data on our own level down here, and you can be your own expert and figure this stuff out. And I think going forward, we need to do a lot more of that. We kind of need to organize, or just, I think as long as people realize the importance of it, then they themselves will keep themselves connected and grounded in this search for information. And then also kind of going back to Mufon and where does the data go? We know, historically, I think back in 2009, Mufon ended up selling some of their data to the government or turned it over to the government. One of the two. It was the president who was in charge at the time of Mufon who was involved with that. Now, do I think they're still doing that? I think they learned from their lesson, because they definitely went through a period of ridicule, and even still today, some people ridicule them for even being involved on that level. So I think they're probably going more above and beyond to protect the data. But then at the same time, as you said, when there's targets like that, a database to target, you got hackers, you got anybody who can actually get into the database and get the information if they really want it. But I think what it does, though, is it makes everyone, it gives everyone the chance to play a very important part in getting to the root of this. Because just like I stated, you could go from a viewer tonight, go through the MUFON training, become a MUFON representative, and then after 2 or 3 years, you become an expert on the phenomena in your region based off of research that you've done yourself. So it's like, I think that's pretty awesome that's the case.
For sure. It'd be a good thing to get into, especially if you're wanting to. I don't know if they have access like to I'm sure they have access to other. I don't know what they have access to, like ways to investigate and stuff, but they have to have more than the average person. So it'd be a good thing to get into, especially if you're interested into it and you don't have, and you got some extra time, and it's nothing that's ever interested me at all, but it's seems like a headache. But yeah, for the people that do it, it's I commend them. The guy I worked with is named Jeremy Ray. He was one of the investigators that was going through my stuff, and that's how I got to know him. Yeah, but it's crazy stuff, man. I've been doing some research on some. You want to hear a crazy fact that I come across? I'm doing a little research, trying to put together some notes. I'm not putting together like a speech, but I want some like notes for this this presentation, and I got one of my nephews putting together like a promo video that plays before I come on stage. It's gonna be cool. Anyways, But this, I want to drop a cool fact on you. They have found proof in early humanoids over 200 million years ago. They're finding proof that they were using psychedelic compounds in some type of structured ceremony. Over 200 million years ago, they're finding proof of that. I didn't even know they had proof that we were. I guess it's not Homo sapiens. I guess it's something pre-Homo sapiens, but some type of humanoid form on Earth over 200 million years ago, finding proof that they're using psychedelic compounds in some type of structured ceremony.
Yeah, I can see it.
Crazy, huh?
Because a lot of these medicines and these plants grow on their own. So it's like, yeah, as long as I can definitely see it. And just like marijuana, we know has been used in ceremonies throughout history as well. Yeah, I think if it grows now, something that you have to process or turn into something else, I'll be more shocked at, you know what I mean? But I think if it's something that grows right there, then yeah, for sure they probably use it on some level. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Definitely looking forward to this.
It'll be fun, man. It'll be fun, especially see some highlights from that. Because I know I won't be in Wisconsin. That's way, 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 way out. But I know Debs will be awesome there as well. Jimmy Church, I'd love to see what he's going to talk about. There's a few people there I would definitely like to see and see what their conversation is going to be about. So if you have an option to go, if you're in the area, go ahead and get your tickets. Once again, what are the dates?
May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Yep.
So still have it up here.
May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Okay, we'll be in Vegas actually those days. Space Out Radio. So yeah, we'll be doing. I think we're going out to Area 51 that weekend. We're gonna go out to the gate, take some photos because I tried to go to
choose what team you're on, people.
I don't know, man. I think they be Team Vegas, man. They might be Team Vegas only because they would get to go see where a lot of this stuff supposedly is taking place, where Bob Lazar said he worked, where he said he worked on extraterrestrial craft, and potentially if that's still happening there, which a lot of people don't think it is, but to be at the gate of that facility where these things are being held, that is an insane moment in time for anyone who's into this subject to be like, right over that hill right there is where test planes have flown in and out for top secret crap. And not only that, but a little further down that road, down to S4, where Bob Lazar says these UFOs were, that's a big place to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a lot that does that. Unless you know where the contractor is who is currently holding these crash retrievals. Now, anybody out there, I'm telling you, I'm on signal. So it is encrypted messaging. You can reach out to me and tell me where these crash retrieve vehicles are at. Tell me the facility. We'll organize something. We'll go down there maybe one day with cameras and show up on the perimeter and kind of get that whole movement going. Just let me know.
Yeah. Man, there's a jet flying over right now. Oh, you want to hear another crazy synchronicity? So, Bledsoe was on, I think he talked about this, on his interview with Sean Ryan. But he talked about how he had this message or a vision. I don't know how he got it, but basically the information was on Easter in 2026 in Egypt, when the sun rises and it hits the Sphinx, something crazy will happen. So I was talking and I seen that and I was like, oh, that's pretty crazy. It's crazy connection to Egypt that I never knew that Bledsoe had, so it's going to be interesting to be able to get to know him a little better and stuff at this conference. But I was telling Ella the other just like yesterday, the day before, I was like, there's been times in the past my birthday's been on Easter. And she said, no, there hasn't. And so I like Googled it, and I was like, there's been 3 times, since 1980, since I was born, that it's been on Easter. And she's like, when's the next time? And I looked it up, and it's next year, dude. On 2026, my birthday's on Easter.
That is crazy. That is insane.
So
that means you're trying to tell everybody your birthday's coming up.
yeah, my birthday's coming up, but that's besides the point. It falling on Easter on the Easter that Bledsoe was talking about having a So I don't know. Maybe I'll be in Egypt next year for my birthday.
Okay. All right. I thought you were saying Drew Banky's birthday fell on Easter, so it happens to be the day Christ was resurrected. So you know what that means.
Yeah, you gotta send money to my Cash App. Duh.
Drew Banky. All right, man. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up. I'm gonna try to squeeze in one news story before we get up out of here, man. You're welcome to hang around.
Jay Wasley
will be
next weekend.
But so let me go ahead and get into this story real quick. You can hang out if you like, and we're going to do it just like that, guys. So let me go ahead and jump right on into this news story right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. But I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
All right, UFO and weird news of the week. And I'm going to try to squeeze this one story in. It'll probably make this one story. And it happens to be James Webb Telescope. Anything regarding James Webb Telescope I'm interested in because I think it's going to show something it shouldn't probably show someday. And it's going to be amazing if they ever let that data through. But this title says James Webb Telescope discovers mysterious free-floating planet drifting through space. Imagine that. Known as SIMP 0136, the $10 billion telescope caught a glimpse of it floating through space all by itself. When we think of the universe, we think of planets rotating around stars as they move in groups across the cosmic void. Enter the $10 billion James Webb Telescope, which is mixing things up a little with one of its latest discoveries. See, some things in the universe exist in their own right. No star to revolve around, no other planets to form a solar system like the one Earth calls home. Say hello to SIMP 0136, located by the James Webb Telescope this month as it focused its cameras into deep space. First launched into space back in 2021 by NASA, the telescope is the natural heir to the Hubble Space Telescope. Using its high-resolution infrared camera, it is showing humanity things it has never seen before. In fact, Brian Cox spoke about how amazing a piece of technology it is, effectively helping us travel through time. Anyway, back to the discovery. Spotted floating aimlessly through space, SIMP 0136 is roughly 20 light years away from Earth. In universe terms, that is pretty close. SIMP 0136 is a rapidly rotating, free-floating object roughly 13 times the mass of Jupiter, located in the Milky Way, just 20 light years from Earth, NASA said. Quote, although it is not classified as a gas giant exoplanet, it doesn't orbit a star and may instead be a brown dwarf. SIMP 0136 is an ideal target for exometeorology. It is the brightest object of its kind in the northern sky. Quote, because it is isolated, it can be observed with no fear of light contamination or variability caused by a host star. And its short rotation period of just 2.4 hours makes it possible to survey very efficiently. It's about 13 times the mass of Earth, which makes it a huge planet. What it's like close up, we don't know yet. Allison McCarthy, doctoral student at Boston University and lead author on the study published in the Astrophysical Journal Letters, said, quote, "We already knew that it varies in brightness, and we were confident that there are patchy cloud layers that rotate in and out of view and evolve over time. Quote, we also thought there could be temperature variations, chemical reactions, and possibly some effects of auroral activity affecting the brightness, but we weren't sure. Capturing images of the planet, the James Webb Telescope took thousands of photos. We're talking one every 1.8 seconds for more than 3 hours, the time period it takes to observe one full rotation of the planet. From the images, NASA determined it is the brightest shining, free floating planet in the northern sky, but that brightness changes as it rotates. Why? Scientists think it's due to the unevenness of the state of each cloud layer and how light reacts to that. They don't explain all the changes, though, with studies set to continue on the matter. That is actually pretty awesome. A free floating planet out there in space. What do you think about that, Drew Banky? Muted McMuted. What do you think about that, Drew Banky?
Muted McMuted. McMuted. Say it 5 times fast. I think there's a lot out there that we don't know about. You know, I think that maybe there's other planets out there that are just like Earth, you know, just that have the same environments. And we can't see them, we can't detect them because they're too far out there. I think we're only starting to figure this out, just like everything else.
Free floating planet, man. Just a planet by itself, not attached to a sun. I just wonder, like, if anything could survive on that planet, first off. And then second off, like, what would that experience be like not having like the gravitational pull of the sun or any of that stuff going on anywhere near you? Like, what kind of world would that be? It would make for a great movie.
I'm just gonna leave everybody with the brain buster. It's gonna trigger a lot. It's gonna trigger dreams in people. So be warned. If you don't want crazy dreams tonight, tune out now. There's what if we're looking, all this universe, all this stuff is just remnants of this process going over and over through eternity. Just like we're starting to find evidence of this process going over and over on this earth, all these pyramids be coming out. There's a tomb of a pharaoh that just got uncovered in Egypt. All the stuff underneath the pyramids coming out. We're seeing, what if we're just seeing remnants of this process going over and over and over again?
That would be something to think about, something to consider, something to leave you with as we get ready to get up out of here for the night. And thank our guest, Karen Hill with Tucson Mufon. Hours 1 and 2 being awesome. Remember, you can access the archive absolutely free, youtube.com/that Spaced Out Radio. Also want to thank our guy right here, Drew Banky, with the After Hours Wrap Up. Steve Stockton tells Untold Missing Person Mysteries. We also want to thank you, man, you hear right there, Mr. Ron Bubblefit Thal. He's the man that rocks us out each and every weekend as he teaches us and tells us to never say never again, because, yes, the phenomena is real. And because of that, that means anything and everything is possible. So if you enjoyed the show tonight, make sure you show your love by hitting the like button, also by throwing your horns up. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you for tuning your frequency to Spaced Out Radio, where we do what we do best. And what's that you asked, Drew Banky?
We own the night.
We own the night. This show has been copyright SOR Media Ventures Limited, Spaced Out Radio. It has been a pleasure once again serving you as your host. I'm Mr. Rob G. That is Drew Banky. This is the After Hours Wrap-Up Show. And to all you space travelers, you can best believe this is not a goodbye nor a farewell. However, next time as we prepare to go off air, you can best believe next time we'll be doing this thing, same time, same place, right here. Make sure you're here. And we are up out of here. Clear. Awesome show. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. So I'll be here tomorrow. I filled in for Dave on Friday. He's out in San Francisco at the UFO Con. He was a speaker there with the Lorian Fenton at her conference. So he'll be back in town Monday, but I'll be doing the show Monday. He'll be back on air Tuesday. So actually, let me check and see who am I hosting on Monday, because I probably should know something like that if I'm going to be doing the show, right? So let me see.
Yeah. Get it together, Rob.
Exactly. So it looks like that is going to be is this upcoming? No, this is latest. Hold on. Actually, I don't think the show is posted yet. Yeah, it's not posted yet. Parapsychologist, I think, is the person is a parapsychologist, I believe, from what I understand. So should be an awesome conversation, guys. Make sure that you are here for that. Also, Dave will be back in on Tuesday with the normal stuff, Tuesday through Friday, 9 p.m. to Pacific till midnight. Once again, you're here in the After Hours Radio Show. We rock Saturdays and Sundays, 8 p.m. Pacific until 11 p.m. If you are here for the first time, please consider hitting the subscribe button. Also, the like button. We'd love to see you come back, so hit the notification bell as we get ready to get up out of here for the night, guys. Yeah, it was fun. Like always, we kick butt, and we'll be back next week with Jay Wasley, and I'm not sure who else. We'll have the other day figured out by the time it gets here. Until then, though, guys, have a great rest of your night. Anything you want to leave them with, Drew?
No, it's going to be a banger next. I'll be 45 by the time I see you guys next. So if you want to get a happy birthday in, now's the time. If don't wait till Saturday, because my birthday's Friday. Anyways, Jay Wasley is my buddy that I set that up. And yeah, it's going to be a great. He is the director of a ghost story adventure special that's coming out. I think it's on Netflix. And it comes out on the 16th, so it'd be 3 days after. I think we got the last interview before the airing of the show. So it's gonna be a good one. He's got a big crowd already that he's bringing with him. So the chat's gonna be alive and popping with a bunch of brand new faces in the chat. I know it's gonna be there. So
that should be lit.
It's gonna be lit. Yep. Has he sent you any clips?
No, he hasn't sent me any clips. I did check back in and let him know what was going on. So just because we can't do the 3 things, so it has to be the 1-to-1. So when you talk to him, see about that and then let me know.
I'll do that.
All right, guys.
Thank you, Susan. Tucson Mufon, man, what a great name. I want to move. If I ever move and want to be in Mufon, I'm gonna move to Tucson, because that whole, it just flows. It's so sharp. It's it's humble but powerful. It's good.
With that being said, we're up out of here. Happy early birthday, Drewski. I'll hit you up on your birthday, man.
Thank you.
Outside of that, you guys have a great rest of your night. We're up out of here just like this.
Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution.